Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey everybody, here we are. It's a Tuesday. We got the Colic Racing tires lit up. I love it.
I banged my elbow on it. Oh man!
We're gonna be. By the way,
playing hurt.
Jason's injured. We're gonna start a contest, I believe. We got to think about this, Mikey, for the month of June. Who will lose more things in a month, Jason or G?
Oh, it's me. It's not even close. It's the one thing I can dominate G in.
No.
I
don't know, Jason.
I have never met two guys who lose more things. I've never seen anything like it. Every day they both lose something.
So like my wife, she just takes my wallet and keys. Like if I'm going in somewhere, she takes it because she feels like I'm gonna lose it somewhere. Yeah. So she just cuffs it. Like,
and Jason's just as bad. You guys lose your ID on average 3 times a week, I think.
Yeah.
I haven't lost mine in a while. I'm pretty good.
Go in a couple of weeks.
Did you have to get a new one?
Oh yeah.
See, I don't want to. I'm so definitely afraid to get a new one because then I'm right next to Jason.
I had a visitor's one.
Okay.
And that's right.
And I was scared to tell anyone at Channel 3 that I'd lost it. Because the one thing they did when they handed me, they actually said, "Don't lose this." And that's the first thing I did was lose the badge.
Yeah.
By the way, yesterday Jason wasn't here. I wasn't here. I'm in the rest of the week. Mikey McNuggets was off. He's back. We'll get to bed. But one other thing I just wanted to hit on real quick. So yesterday, when the show was over, I wasn't able to pay attention to the show yesterday. I was very busy yesterday, and Mikey was away. And we got this long, in our text group, we got this long text from Steve Becker, our executive producer, about how good the show was yesterday. Apparently, it was a very strong show. So I was like, okay, these guys are going on and on. It was a great show. So I said, well, let me just see how good it was. So I didn't have time to watch the whole show yesterday because I was kind of busy. So I went on to Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes, you may not know this, they don't just do movies, they do TV shows.
Really?
They give grades. The critics give grades. And apparently, yesterday's show got an 8.2. I see it right here, an 8.2. Here's what they said. Now, 8.2 is pretty good. That's out of 10. That's really good. It says, here's what they wrote up. This was the overall. So different critics give a breakdown on each show, and then they give a consensus. And this was the consensus, okay? Very strong show overall, great. Earl and Anthony got a little big for their britches and showed up late for work the following day.
Fact.
But at least Earl didn't argue that Donovan Mitchell is better than LeBron. And Anthony was able to go one day without a spelling error. How about that? Jay rambled a bit. G's knee jerked so much that he hit Tyvus in the balls. Apparently, that downgraded the number a little bit. And in the end, let's face it, there's still a ceiling on an episode that did not have Mikey, girlfriend on the down low, McNuggets.
We'll address that. We will address that.
And the recently voted sexiest man in Cleveland, me, Adam the Bull. I didn't vote that for myself. That's the breakdown. 8.2. Good job, guys, yesterday. Very good.
Yeah, couple things on that real quick.
Check out Rotten Tomatoes for all the grades on the different shows.
I went back. I watched the full show.
Yeah.
Anthony and Earl, they killed it. They really did. They held it down. All the content. We had the perfect panel for some of the talks yesterday, especially with the defensive line, Boogie being in, the John Morant conversation.
Yeah, but everybody said Boogie was great yesterday.
The audacity of these two to my right.
Yeah.
To think they won something.
No
they
showing.
Both showed up 15 minutes late today. I'm in here early. We've got a ton of work to do.
That's amazing.
And I'm looking around. I'm spinning in my circle chair upstairs. You can see it on my Twitter. I tweeted out the video. Both these two showed up late, but to their credit, they got their work in. We have a great show coming up today. We're going to do your bet. I got a story, then we're going to dive into things.
Okay.
And program note, Cecil Shorts, who is one of Earl's friends from high school, had to reschedule. He's going to come on Thursday now. He had a last-minute emergency. So we will not have Cecil Shorts on the show today. I know it said on the coming up slate.
Apparently, Cecil got a call from a closer friend than Earl and was going on that guy's show instead.
You think it's Donovan Mitchell?
Right.
Poor Cecil Earl will be back on Thursday.
Poor Earl, man.
He was not avoiding the show.
No.
But he will not be on today. He'll be on Thursday. Bull,
yes.
Let's get to your bet.
I lost
one thing,
yesterday.
Real quick, one more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We keep giving Anthony and Earl kudos for doing their job yesterday. They forgot to update your standings over the weekend.
Oh, not a shocker. I think I went 1-1 on Friday, I believe.
Hey. Haters are haters. It's okay. You went 1-on-1 on Friday.
And
you
I
went
lost yesterday.
0-1 yesterday, so you're 1-2 in your last 3, which
That's a
brings
slump for me.
your baseball record to 27-15. You are still on fire. Jason actually owes me money because my A's bet hit all 3 times when I was in South Carolina. Won 3 in a row, but you can't bet in South Carolina, so I Venmo'd Jason. He bet for me.
It's a lame-ass state.
So I make the bets for him.
There you go.
He did. So Jason owes you some cash in a sec. But Bet Rivers is bringing us Bulls Bet of the Day, as always. And you can check them out at betrivers.com. Download the Bet Rivers app today for the latest lines, odds, and boosts. And when you use deposit code SPORTS, you receive a second chance bet up to $500. So get in on all the action now. BetRivers.com. Download the app. Check them out today.
All right, the bet today is, what did I take? I don't even remember. The Giants. That's right. They've got Alex Cobb pitching today against the Phillies. They're at home, and Cobb's pitched really well so far in the season. The Phillies have been lousy, one of the disappointing teams, and they have been particularly poor on the road. So the Giants will get some good pitching tonight, and they will win. They're plus 102. It's basically an even game. So I'll take the Giants in this one. There you go. All right, knocked over my keys.
I knocked over G's water.
There you go.
Sorry,
Mikey,
Okay.
you have a story for us.
I do. It's a 2-story combo here, but it's all related. So
2-story combo.
yeah, we're gonna start.
So
with
Mikey has a serious girlfriend, which I didn't know either.
We'll get that's the end of story 2.
Oh, okay.
Let's start with chronological order here. So I mentioned on the show, but my grandpa passed away a couple weeks ago, and I was unable to make it down to the funeral. The day I was supposed to fly down was the day the heavens opened up in Cleveland, and the only flight that would have got me to Myrtle Beach in time was delayed and canceled. So I missed the funeral. So this past weekend, I went down to visit my grandma, spent some time with her, and we went out to dinner on Saturday with a bunch of her friends. Now, my grandma's 82. She's doing great, but it was me at dinner with 5 women 60 and older. So
Right.
just picture the scene. And we're at dinner, and
It's
the
like
wait.
the Golden Girls here.
Golden Girls 2.0 Myrtle
Yeah.
Beach era, yes. We're at the table, about to order appetizers, and the waitress comes up, and she's a woman, and she looks at me and goes, "Excuse me, are you McNugget?" And the look of pure confusion and uncertainty with what she's saying on her face was baffling. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Like, what's up? She goes, oh, someone in the other room is a big fan. And I'm like,
What?
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Send him over. Like, come say
Yeah.
what's up. And she's like, okay. So as soon as the waitress leaves, look at my grandma. I'm like, did you set me up? Like, am I getting punked? Did my brother call this in? Like, I'm in Myrtle
Yeah.
Beach. I'm not in Cleveland now. My grandma has no clue. She understood what I did before when I was a regular TV reporter. This whole YouTube thing, she's still a little.
She doesn't get it. Yeah.
Still a little uncertain
Does
of
she
what it
know
really
your
is.
nickname or no?
She had no idea I was McNugget. So as soon as
Oh,
she was
wow.
like, "What's a McNugget?" I was like, "Okay, you definitely didn't set me up.
Right,
like
right,
this
right.
is." So about 20 minutes later, the manager of the restaurant, this guy named Mike, comes over, and he's like, "McNuggets, what's up, bro?" And I was like, "I got someone a fan in Myrtle Beach. Like, this is awesome."
That is
He's like,
cool.
"Hey, I'm from Canton. I know G. Bush. G, I'll show you a picture in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
You may know this guy. His name's Mike. He worked at Midtown Bistro. He's like, yo, watch the show every day. I'm from Canton. You guys keep me in touch with Cleveland sports down here in Myrtle Beach. Thank you for what you guys do. I love the show. Love you guys. Can I get a picture?" I was like, "Of course." My grandma's got to be in it. So, Steve, take the picture. This is me, my grandma, and Mike from Midtown Bistro in Myrtle Beach this weekend.
Heck
With
yeah,
the
I
guy.
know Mike. This
If-
dude, what is he doing there? How long he been down there?
I don't know. I don't know. But this is Mike from Midtown
That is
Bistro.
funny.
He says he knows you. You want to see the proudest grandma in the world?
Oh, yeah.
When we sat down, my grandma, that was the biggest flex she ever
Oh,
had.
my God. That was
They were like, "Oh,
that's a
your
grandma's
grandson-
dream right
Your
there.
grandson's a celebrity." It was, it's cool getting recognized, but to see my grandma, the smile on her face through
Yeah.
that, it
That's
was
awesome.
the coolest moment in the world.
That
yeah.
Mike dude looks jacked.
Listen.
Pretty big dude. G,
Yeah.
do you know him?
Yeah, I grew up with that dude, bro. Like, it's so crazy because why would he be? I didn't even know he was in South
He
Carolina.
was sick of the cold.
Shout out to my man, bro. I grew up with him from like this tall, bro. We went to high school. We might have went to middle school together too. This is crazy.
I hope you got a free cheesesteak out of it, or salad, or something.
Shout out to
got,
Mike, man.
He hooked us up.
What kind of
cool.
restaurant was it?
It's called Midtown Bistro.
Oh, Bistro.
On Highway 17 in Myrtle Beach. It was very good. Would highly recommend it.
All right.
So then yesterday.
Yeah.
So that happens.
Yeah.
So yesterday, I guess on the show, Tyvis starts the show announcing I have a girlfriend.
Now,
Miss
wait a
McNugget.
All
We'll
right.
get to it.
All right.
We'll get to this.
Go ahead.
So I didn't watch the show at this point.
Yeah.
I'm going to basketball last night, and I'm getting gas in Shaker Heights. And as I'm getting gas, pumping gas, these 3 people walk by and they go, "Yo, McNuggets, what's up? Hey, we love the show. Tyvis put all your dirty laundry on the show today. What's up with that?" And I was like, I still haven't listened. What'd he say? He's like, "Oh, you got to call him right now."
Yeah.
So I called Tyvis on the spot. I'm like, "Tyvis, I got 3 people here walking by. They said you aired out my dirty laundry. What's up?" So Tyvis goes on his little backtrack, yada, yada. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So, yes, we'll clear the air. I do have a girlfriend. We'll call her Miss McNugget from now on. She is approved of that nickname. So
I like Happy Meal.
So wait a second here.
That
Yeah.
was
That's a lot of.
There's a lot of.
How did Tyvis know you had a girlfriend? Like, did you told him?
he was up in the studio, or he comes in early, and I forget how it came up when we were talking.
I mean, you were keeping that. Were you keeping it quiet on purpose?
No, I just don't talk about my
I
personal
mean, I'm a little
life to you
insulted
guys.
that I didn't know this.
I was kind of saying. He
know?
said I was saying.
I knew.
I was too early.
I knew.
I was too early. He said, "G. Bush, don't be saying that. Don't
Yeah.
be saying it to the game." I said, "Okay, cool. We ain't gonna say
Wait,
nothing."
I think I knew, right? It's the one I think I know, right?
Yeah, you met her at a Cavs game.
I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
insulted.
You met her
that-
too, Bull. You all know who she is.
I know who she
We're gonna
is.
keep
but
we're gonna keep her name private, by the way.
I know
so
that.
we
That's
don't get
fine.
harassed,
I
but-
know who she is, but I didn't know she was like officially a girlfriend.
Bro, she worked on her game over the summer, and she came back and got a max deal. Max deal. What are you talking about? Like now,
Getting that NIL money?
Oh, she getting that NIL money. She getting all that. This right now. This part of name, image, like this right now.
I said to McNuggets this morning, I was like, you guys moving in together yet or what?
Yeah, like this
like,
guy
hey,
movie.
take it easy.
He be asking grown person questions.
Yeah.
So you shacking up?
Yeah, no, we're not. At
Well, I
that stage
take
yet.
take offense that you didn't let me know.
Shout out to Miss McNugget. I'm glad you out here in these streets moving around. You know
Very
what I'm saying?
insulted, Mike.
I will say, last
Yeah.
thing, we'll move on to some real football.
Yeah.
About Miss McNugget, she is the biggest director. She likes Director Steve more than she likes me. She's a Director
Well,
Steve
Steve's
fan.
very
so-
likable.
I know.
It's got that Riz game.
So, just throwing it out
got
there.
that what?
Director Steve is the,
Now, Steve, Director Steve, if Director Steve, you pull up and have a girlfriend, we're gonna have a problem. You better let everybody know. I need everybody to
Yeah,
know
like
that.
Steve doesn't talk about his. Well, I mean,
We're gonna
you know,
find out.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
all
get him
right.
in profile.
Oh, yeah, listen, some
Anyway.
people love sharing their personal business. Some people
Yeah.
keep it on the DL.
That's
It is
true.
what it is, but
You know,
Miss
I think
McNugget does
everybody's
exist.
got to share here. We're all part of the same group.
Pause.
So that's
Yeah.
things have changed in our relationship, Mike. I thought we were close, that I would know
one
that.
team, one unit. And that relationship is, by the way, brought to us by Lorain County Community College. Your classes, your future, if there's any future baby McNuggets on the way, which
Yeah.
will be at least 10 years out,
Oh my
they will
God.
register for summer and fall classes at lorainccccccc.edu. So many C's. C's get
So
degrees,
little
Lorain
time.
Community College. Take it away.
All right, guys. So obviously yesterday on the show, Jason and I weren't here. G was, and you talked about the big acquisition.
Yes,
I
sir.
assume you guys were all in favor of it.
Yes, sir. What do you mean, sir? What do you mean? I'm in favor of it. This was.
Does anybody, Jason? I assume you're good with it as well.
yeah, for what they gave up. I mean,
There's-
it's a 1 year deal, right? Like they restructured.
They gave up nothing.
Yeah, to give up 2 5s to get established pass rusher. I don't know how. I don't see where the downside is. There's a little bit of injury concern history with them.
Yeah.
But what NFL player isn't there
Right.
not NFL
Well, but
injury concern?
I actually don't. I mean, he missed all of the 21 season basically, but in the other 3 of the other 4 years of the last 4 years, I think he's missed 1 game total in those other 3 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and production kind of slipped a little bit as the year went on. But again, having Myles on the other side, having guys to rotate in,
Yeah.
I think that's the most encouraging thing about this is the fact that I can't recall when the Browns have had this much depth on the defensive line. It's been, I mean, maybe the 80s or the 90s since they've had talent that you could roll in.
Yeah.
And that's what top teams do is when you can pull guys off the field and not get a considerable slip in play. And
Yeah.
I think that's the most encouraging.
yeah, now we
part
got to
of this.
see it on the field
Of
because
course.
these guys haven't played
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Za'Darius Smith is not young.
No, he's not. But he's
However-
going to be motivated.
However, yes, I think he's going to be highly motivated. I think playing with Myles Garrett is going to make him better. I think Myles Garrett playing with him is going to make Myles Garrett better.
Yeah.
I love this move. I think it's great. I'm not ready to tell you the Browns have the best defensive line in the league. That's absurd.
I'm
They
not
were
ready to tell you they got
terrible
the
last
best
year.
defensive line in the division.
Right. We
Like-
got to see it on the field.
Right.
But on paper, it is, as G was saying on the phone, yes, it's way, way, way better than it was last year.
Oh, 100%.
I would still argue that they don't have a definitive second starter at defensive tackle, even at this point. Right? Like, who's their second defensive tackle?
I think what's the name going to start?
Doc Rivers just got fired, by the way.
Okay.
Did he?
We can get into that.
Just throwing it out there.
Deservedly so. I mean, the guy's been the
we can
biggest
get into
choker in the NBA.
Wow.
I think Siaki Ika is going to start.
Really?
Yeah, I think he got a chance.
Right, but it's unknown. Like,
There's thousands of people that could be in there.
so I think that, listen, it's not without question marks. However, you spent the money on Tomlinson, you spent the money on Obo, you made this trade.
Yeah.
You've added 3 guys that we know can play at least some level of at least solid football on the defensive line, in addition to Myles Garrett. So now you have 4 guys on your defensive line. Now it's 3 ends and a tackle. But you have 4 guys on the defensive line that you know at worst are going to be quality starters.
Yeah.
They had 1 last year,
Right.
maybe 2 with Clowney, maybe. But he was a mess. Now they have 4. That's a huge difference. Now, how much do the Browns go from awful to average on the D-line, or do they go from awful to excellent on the D-line? That we're not going to know until we see it. But we know it's going to be better. That we know for sure.
People with the Browns believe that defensive linemen will love playing in Jim Schwartz system because it's not a lot that's asked of them. It's very simple, but yet it's the crux to everything that they do is the front 4. And so for that reason also, I think that these guys are going to be able to get after it, and I think they're going to enjoy playing in the scheme. So I don't see – I was never a big Clowney guy, like, at all. I didn't like the signing even the first time around.
Yeah.
I'm much higher on this. The fact that he does – when guys are willing to keep bouncing and teams are willing to keep letting you go, that does set up – it's a flag.
Yeah.
It's certainly a flag. But the production is there. The numbers are there. It's only for 1 year. What you gave up is minimal for what you could get out of it. And if it works and both sides enjoy it, maybe they can work out something long term.
Right.
But the fact that it's a low risk, you're not tied into a massive contract with this guy, give him a year and see what he's got.
Yeah.
I don't see any downside to it.
Let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. The Browns have significantly upgraded their defensive line. We know that. Mm-hmm. Again, on paper, but I would think at least they're going to be average on the defensive line. At least, minimum, right? And they sucked last year. So that, even if they're average, that's a pretty big upgrade.
Yeah.
And I think we'd all agree they'd probably be better than that, but I'm going to at least say minimum. The floor is average now. Okay. We know the secondary on paper is good. It disappointed at times last year, but it's good. Mm-hmm. We all like the Thornhill addition. The Browns have committed to those 2 positions with draft capital, with money. They've committed nothing to linebacker, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, now, they have in the past, but a position which was, as bad, you could argue as bad as the D-line was the linebackers last year. Mm-hmm. They've added nobody. They brought back the guys from last year who were mostly injured. Mm-hmm. They haven't added a single, the only additions at that position are undrafted free agents.
Right.
So you've made no significant additions there. Do we believe, I'll start with you, G, that they think our linebackers are fine, with the defensive line being a lot better, because of that, they'll play better? Or is it just, well, we can't fix everything at once, so let's go all in on the D-line, and if the linebackers aren't that good, we'll hope for the best? I don't know. What do you say to that?
Listen, I sound like Jason. Look, I've been tinkering around with this Jim Schwartz video for a long time. Mm-hmm. Just trying to dig into his philosophy as a defensive coordinator. He does these series of seminars and different things, and I've been watching them. And I started on this video kind of just trying to give Browns fans a little insight into what they possibly could see with what the defensive line we have and what his philosophy is and the way he thinks about things. But I believe that when Jim Schwartz went into the building, he said the first thing he's going to do is he's going to do some self-scouting. So what he did is he went through on the tape and said, okay, let me look at our run defense. Run defense was terrible. Our 2 safeties in the back, they had a lot of blown miscommunication. Which one of these guys is salvageable? You look at John Johnson. I think he put it on John Johnson.
By the way, he's still a free agent.
Still a free agent.
Nobody assigned him.
I think he looked at John Johnson and said, I'm going to identify as him the root cause for the miscommunications in the back. When it came to the defensive line, he needed to find out which was it. Is it your D-line that's getting you gashed up front and killed? Or is it your linebackers not feeling, not reading, not being able to tackle people? And I think he came to the conclusion that the defensive line was getting reached. They were getting cut off. They were getting double teamed. They got no penetration. So if you look at what they've done, they've completely overhauled the D-line. Completely. You got new names everywhere. You get to the linebacker core, and we talked with DeQuell about JOK. JOK looked all over the place, and I think that Schwartz is going to take him as his pet project. He feels, and I've always felt in a standard defense, JOK cannot just stand there and just play traditional 4-3 outside linebacker. He has to be a different type of position because you don't want people getting up on him on his body. So what he did is said, all right, we got guys that's going to keep JOK clean, and we're going to move him around a little bit. When you look at Anthony Walker, is he a guy that's going to, make waves? No. Is he a guy that's going to make a ton of plays and be Ray Lewis? No. He's a solid pro, but one thing he will do, he'll get you lined up correctly, and he'll play his assignment. So when you
that's
look,
if he can stay healthy.
That's if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
The only thing, and kind of throwing a bow in it, the only thing that scares you is this. Each one of those guys has been injured every single year.
That's right.
And if you don't, put any resources to that position, you can have a really strong defense, and then one or two of those guys go out, and now you're looking like, wow, we need to scramble to find somebody. That's the only thing I can think of as to why they won't bring anybody in, and it's a gamble. It's still a gamble.
Yeah. I mean, that clearly now, Jason, linebacker, if you're analyzing this team position group by position group, it's the worst position group, no?
And that's the one you want to be the worst. Every team's going to have a weakness, right? Like in the NFL, there's going to be holes everywhere.
Sure.
In Schwartz's scheme, you want it to be linebacker. This scheme de-emphasizes, and listen, I don't want to go too far in that direction because all it takes is one bust, and we've seen one guy's out of position, and the whole thing falls apart. But in this scheme, the priority is the front. Next comes the secondary, and then the linebacker. The linebacker is, quite honestly, it is the least important position group in this scheme. So I think for that reason, of course, if the board fell right, they would have taken a linebacker a little bit. They didn't take any linebackers. They would have taken a linebacker if the board fell a different way to them. But I think that they feel comfortable with who they have. They know what they have in the building. Again, yes, injuries are a concern. Injuries are a concern with every team at every position. So it's part of the nature of the NFL. And I don't think you can worry about what are we going to do. You know guys are going to get hurt, right? Like, they're going to. And DeQuell knows the linebacker play far more than I do in the NFL. I don't want to pretend like I know how to scout linebackers. I'm not saying that at all. If he says JOK is a problem, then I'm going to lean toward the veteran.
Right.
However, I do think with the way that they play up front, if he's going to have success, this is the scheme for him to have success.
Right, this is JOK's last year if he doesn't get it.
I believe
if Jim Schwartz can't find a way to use him, he's not usable. I think it's
probably
pretty obvious.
he had a pretty good rookie year. He had a terrible second year.
Yeah.
A lot on the line this year for him.
That's right.
And I think this is a good system for him now. Like, I'm not so sure about last year.
Yeah.
With the way they're going to run this scheme now, and we saw a lot out of Taki last year when they moved him to the middle, where he was at least serviceable, whereas in the past, it wasn't a lot there. But when they moved him around a little bit, okay, there's a little bit something there. So I'm not it is by far the weakest position group, yes.
It's
but
actually, if you think about the Browns roster, thinking about every position group, offense, defense, it's the only position group that's even below every position group on the Browns, I would say, is at worst average or better.
I'd agree with
except
that.
for linebacker.
I'd probably agree
except
with
for
that.
linebacker, right?
And it could be average. If these guys stay healthy, they could be average.
That's the ceiling, I think, for that group.
Probably.
Yes.
That's probably.
And I think we'd all sign for the linebackers being average.
Yeah.
Yes. We'd all sign for that.
And again, if you have to pick one spot on on this defense or really on this team to say where can we get away with being a little bit below average, where can they get away with it? It would be linebacker.
Let me ask you guys one more thing, and then we'll go to Mikey. Is this about linebackers specifically?
No. Finish your linebackers.
This is not. This is more D-line. So the Browns, G talked about it, complete overhaul of the defensive line. Mm-hmm. And think about, they still have some guys there that have been here. But outside of Myles Garrett, is it possible that every other defensive lineman on this roster when the season begins was not on this team last year besides Myles Garrett?
Is it possible? Yes. Will it happen? No.
Okay. What do we do? So Tomlinson, Smith, Obo are all definitely on this team.
Yes.
Right, along with Myles Garrett.
I think Alex Wright and Jordan Elliott are back from last year, for sure.
You don't think Winfrey's definitely back? And
I don't think he's definitely
Ika's
back,
definitely on the team. He was a high pick this year.
Ika's on the team.
So we know that there's going to be 4 new guys on the defensive line, minimum. I think if Hurst is healthy, again, he missed the last 2 years, so who the hell knows? Maybe this guy will never play again. But his first 2 years in the league with a good San Francisco team, he was a good player.
Yeah.
And he's missed 2 years. If he's healthy, he's going to be on this team.
Yeah, oh, for
if he's
sure.
still the player he was 2 years
Yes,
ago.
absolutely.
So I think there's a chance there's 5, possibly even 6 new defensive linemen on this team, which is good.
Yeah, I think Isaiah Thomas will make the – so they just got McGuire. He's on the team. I think Isaiah Thomas may make the team. I think Wright may make the team. The guys who I think is borderline is Jordan Elliott, but I think Winfrey and Tommy Togiai are out. They're done.
Oh, you think Winfrey's definitely out?
Yeah, I think they're done.
Well, Togiai's definitely out.
Togiai's done. Yeah. So
Mikey, what do you got?
You talked about the Browns linebackers at best being average. I think its potential on the defensive line is elite. Potential.
I agree.
Is elite. So we talked about this in the pre-show meeting, and I want to pitch it to you. And I want to start with you, Bull, and I want to end with G, because I know you guys are on different sides here. Do you think with the additions of Za'Darius Smith, Obo, Tomlinson, Ika, the rest of the guys they've added, McGuire, the Browns have the best defensive line in the division? And if bigger than the division, could it be the AFC, the NFL? Where does that rank?
I don't think I can say it's the best in the division until I see them play. Obviously, the talent has been upgraded, and the potential is there, certainly, to be the best in the division and one of the best. I think the Browns could have a top 5 defensive line. I think that is possible.
Absolutely.
But I can't make them top 5 when none of these guys have played for the Browns except for Myles Garrett. So until I see them do it, I'm not putting them top 5. I think you got to earn it to some degree before you're given that grade,
Right.
but that doesn't matter. The potential is clearly there for them to be that. That's how I see it. But I'm not I'm not ready to go there. There's some good pass rushes in this division, and the Browns got to prove it. But it would not surprise me if the middle of the season we're saying the Browns have a top 5 defensive line in the league. And that's a long way to come from last year.
Absolutely. In one offseason, that's a big turnaround. I don't get hung up on rankings.
Yeah,
there's no way to know. It's all conjecture.
We're not following other teams as closely, what they're doing there.
But if I'm going to, off the top of my head, if I'm thinking who's got the best defensive lines in football, well, the Eagles come to mind. The Chargers come to mind. The Steelers are there. The Cowboys. And the Browns. At this point, I think you can have that conversation that those guys. Now, what order do you want to put them in? I don't know. But Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt are pretty doggone good within the division.
Ravens' defensive line was also very good second half of last year.
Yeah.
Bengals have a pretty good defensive line. I do think it's reasonable to think the Browns could end up being better than all in this division.
I totally agree.
But we got to see it. I got to see it a little bit before I'm ready to go
I think the Browns and the Steelers are probably a nudge above the Bengals and the Ravens on defensive lines, but maybe not.
Yeah, on paper, yes. Yeah. I agree.
So, I'm kind of with you. I want to see how this plays out. I want to see how this looks in Schwartz's scheme. But and I'm tired of paper champions.
Right. And remember, there's something to be said, and G, you know this better than anybody because you played defensive line. And we think about this with offensive line, but I think it's important for defensive line too. There's the chemistry of guys playing together, right? Mm-hmm. I think on paper, I see the talent that the Browns have on the defensive line and the talent that the Bengals have. And I do think the Browns have more talent than the Bengals do. DJ Reader at D tackle is better than any individual player the Browns have at D tackle. Yeah. But overall, as a group, I think the Bengals are a pretty good defensive line. I think the Browns on paper are better than that, are top 5 potential. However, the Bengals guys have chemistry, so they might be a little better in the beginning of the year because they're used to playing together. Yes. They know each other's moves. And so there's something to be said for that. So we got to see it on the field. Yeah. But certainly on paper, they got a ton of talent there.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why people are so high on them is because they got a real defensive coordinator. They got a guy.
No doubt.
They got a proven veteran. And one of the things that you love as a defensive lineman is, my problem with Joe Woods and a lot of other defensive coordinators is, yes, the principle of just rushing 4 and dropping 7 is something that every defensive coordinator wants to do. And that sounds great. But anybody at home can call that defense. The great defensive coordinators understand that you do want 7 people in coverage, but they also understand that you can't just have your guys, no matter how elite they are, going up there rushing 4 every single time. The equivalent of that in basketball is not running no offense and having your guards run pick and roll the whole game. Yes, pick and roll is hard to stop, but the whole defense is looking at them. It's hard. There's different things you could do to take that away. And so when you look at a guy like Myles Garrett, they could take that away if you just rush it 4. You could do all kind of stuff up there. Double team him. He was the most double team defensive lineman in the game by far the last 5 years. And so my thing is this. Can they be great up front? Sure. Za'Darius Smith has the best tools of anybody he's ever played with. As far as pass rush tools, the ability, the
no
mixture of running past, the explosiveness, he's the best. And I changed my mind when I heard somebody. I talked to Matt Caller. He covers the Minnesota Vikings, and he talked about how impactful Dalvin Tomlinson was and how they wanted to keep him. The Browns just outbid him.
Yeah.
And what he brings to the defensive line as far as being stout, as far as giving you some pass rush ability. And he says, they're going to have to guard him, and they're going to have to put 2 people on him, which is going to be a decision to be made because you got Myles Garrett. So they got it. They got what it takes, but it's paper.
Yeah, and it is interesting that he and Tomlinson and Za'Darius Smith do have some chemistry together.
Yes.
And obviously, they played together. I mean, it's going to be exciting to see.
Yeah.
The Browns, we've been scarred by optimism for the Browns so many times.
Yes.
That's hard. You don't want to go over the top. We were doing Friday our predictions, and I said 9-8 when I saw the schedule. I don't know. G went with 11 wins. I don't know Jason, you weren't here.
I'd probably be. I don't do the schedule game.
Yeah, I know.
But probably 10, 11 wins.
Right? Like, there is potential. Like, the Browns do have a roster.
I'll tell you, I don't like the start. I don't want to do schedule game now.
Who cares?
That's a rough
G
start.
said this on Friday, and he's right. When your team is good, it don't matter who you're playing. It doesn't matter. If you belong with the big boys, then it doesn't matter. I didn't care last year who the Bengals played in what week. I didn't care because I thought they could win every game.
Because they were an established Super Bowl team.
That's it.
The Browns are not.
They weren't the year before, right? Like, let's go. Let's see what this freaking team is made of right away.
You're going to find out right away.
Let's go. And the Browns' potential, is through the roof. If Deshaun Watson, we've said this 1,000 times, we'll say it 1,000 more. If it all comes down to Deshaun Watson, right? The rest of the roster is there.
Yep.
This team has no excuse.
Okay.
None.
So
the talent's there.
So McNuggets, I gave Mary Kay was on yesterday.
Yeah.
And I point blank asked her, I said, listen, is this the best talent on paper the Browns have ever had? And she said, yeah. She said, this is it. I mean, when you look at position group by position group.
Yeah.
Yeah, depth, all this stuff. On paper, we all know that they got to go out and play. And I'm looking at it in terms of this. If you were to ask me or ask anyone on the panel, if somebody said that Deshaun Watson was the Deshaun Watson this last year in Houston, what would you say about the team?
It's a 12-win team.
There you go.
Right. Well, to me, the goal, there's 3 legit Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. The Bengals, the Bills, the Chiefs. Do we all agree on that?
Yes.
The Browns have the talent, and if Deshaun Watson plays like he did in Houston, to be the 4th team in that group.
I agree.
All right? There's nothing that group is set. Those other 3 teams are there. The Browns are not blowing past those 3.
They're going to have to go on the road and win in one of those places.
Well, maybe
if not 2 of those places.
Maybe not, but one of those teams is in the division, so it's going to be tricky. Right? And if you don't win the division, then all your playoff games are on the road.
Right.
Yes.
Unless there's other upsets along the way. So the Browns' goal, to me, the first goal is, can we get to in the mix with the other 3 teams, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals? Can you be as good as those teams and then on any given day maybe beat them? There's never going to be a situation where you're going to be clearly better than those teams. Right. Those teams are great.
Correct.
They've been proven over the last couple of years, the Chiefs in particular, who have won 2 Super Bowls. Can they get into the mix with those teams? There's not a lot of teams. I don't think there's, in my opinion, the Browns are the only team I could see getting into the mix with those teams. I don't think the Jaguars can. I don't think they're good enough. I don't think the Jets can.
I was going to say the Chargers.
I don't think the Chargers.
The Chargers have the quarterback.
There's something with that team that is missing.
Yes.
Maybe it's the coach.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the coach.
Maybe it is. They have the quarterback to get into the conversation.
They certainly have the quarterback. Absolutely. And honestly, so does Jacksonville. I think they do too.
I think they're a couple steps away yet. I'm not ready to put Trevor Lawrence in the class of those other guys.
I think he gets there this year.
He might.
I think he gets there this year. But anyway, the Browns definitely have the capabilities to be one of those Super Bowl contending teams. But now it's got to come together.
Yeah.
Those teams, and by the way, if Will Brinson or Mike Florio pick the Browns to win 7-8 games, who gives a shit? Why does anybody care?
Yeah.
Who cares? Does that affect the Browns' record this year?
No.
I don't understand. People get so worked up about these things.
I don't know if that's a Cleveland thing or if that's every fan base.
That's everywhere.
I think it's everywhere. I think our fans are a little more sensitive.
I agree with that. I think Cleveland has, I don't know if it's an inferiority complex.
Yes.
that I roll my eyes at it sometimes, but like, how dare you disrespect us? And
you're going to
blah,
get
blah, blah,
disrespected
blah.
until you deserve not to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Browns haven't, and let's be clear, the Browns for 3 years out of the last 5 years, the Browns were the darlings of the
They
NFL.
were getting hype.
They were on every
Absolutely.
show.
Yes.
When they had Odell and Jarvis and Baker Mayfield, when Baker was rolling, 2020, they were like, oh wow, the Browns are on all primetime games. And
That's right.
2021 came back. People were picking them. They were on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
That's right.
And then they threw up on their shoes.
Everywhere.
And by the way,
grease.
people always bring up the guys picking against them. I've seen a couple of guys, like former players, saying, hey, I think the Browns are going to be good this year.
Yeah.
What's his name? The former Jets offensive lineman who's on ESPN.
The big
Huge dude.
Damian Woody.
Damian Woody.
yeah,
He was going on. I think the Browns are the biggest sleeper team in the league. So, listen, in the end, it doesn't matter if people respect or not respect your team. Win, you gain respect.
Right.
That's
Right.
it.
I think
Go to the
people are
playoffs
scared.
and win games that matter, you get respect.
And I think people are gun shy to pick the Browns because of what G just
That's
said.
right.
They've gotten on this bandwagon before and the
Yes.
wheels fell off.
Exactly.
Well, G, before we get you guys the poll results, I know on the call, so both said they could be in the top 5. Jason agreed. On the call this morning, G, you said you can make, at least on paper, the argument that the Browns' defensive line is as good as anyone in the league.
Yeah,
Are
of
you willing
course
to stand by that?
Yeah, that's it. Look, but here's my thing. If you look at what Myles Garrett was doing, Myles Garrett has not had a level of coaching. Myles Garrett has had these stooges in here. I remember Greg Williams. I remember Greg Williams telling Myles Garrett, "I only want to see you do one pass rush move." What? That's like telling Michael Jordan, I don't never want to see you shoot a elbow. Bro, I'm Jordan. I shoot wherever I want to. What are you talking about? He has not had nobody up there. And they was never scheming nobody up. And the Browns blitzed the least amount I've ever seen. Like, they put their linebackers back there and be like, hey, go cover somebody. No blitzing, none of that. I think right now when you look at Za'Darius Smith, like I said before, he's the best pass rusher, best skills, opposite of Myles Garrett. When you look at Tomlinson is a top-level, top-flight nose tackle, defensive tackle that is going to stop the run that gives you pass rush ability. And the thing we want to get to is we want to get to the waves. But look how much, more I'm interested in the younger guys than starting. See now, Alex Wright, I don't need you to start. I just need you to come in and give me something. You're an extra.
Yeah.
Hey, McGuire, learn from these other dudes up front. Siaki Ika, we might only use you for one down. So what I need you to do.
Perrion Winfrey, get your shit together or you're gone.
Yes, Perrion, you want to do something? So now everybody is maximum. And the thing that put him over the top is this. Obo thought he was going to be the dude. Young OG said, this is my time to come out here and do my thing as a starting defense end. And now all of a sudden, Za'Darius Smith is there.
Yeah.
Now, look at the difference between having either Obo with Alex Wright, but now you get Obo with Za'Darius Smith or Za'Darius Smith.
Yeah.
But now you can mix up a lot of different things.
The reason I can't put them number one on paper because they only have 4 short things at defensive line.
They
Four
need a
short
couple
things.
other guys to step up and have really big years.
And teams like Philadelphia have more than 4.
Philly is, first of all, Philadelphia.
But the Browns could get there. We just got to see it.
Philadelphia, I'm sorry, I lied to myself. Philadelphia just went.
There goes that knee.
G-Mini Christmas. Philadelphia went. What they get? They got Nolan. I think they got Nolan Smith, right?
Yeah, they lost
Georgia.
Hargrave, but they drafted Nolan
Yeah.
Smith.
And then they
Jalen
drafted who should have been the number 1 overall pick to start with.
Right.
They got him at like 10, and they got the other
Georgia player like
Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Their defense is loaded.
I'm sorry.
They may be better, right?
I mean, they could be. Hargrave was phenomenal last year.
Yeah,
I think Jalen Carter's going to step in and play at that level immediately. Probably.
But they have so many other guys
realistic,
already.
but-
It wasn't like he was the only guy they had there.
No, I know, but he had 10-plus sacks last year for the defensive tackle position, too.
Right,
so
but
to
didn't they
expect a
have-
rookie to have 10 immediately.
No, nobody's expecting
May
that.
take a step
but
back
they had
a little
3
bit,
other
but-
guys that had double-digit sacks.
Hassan Reddick is still there.
By the way, shouldn't the Browns, I would expect with Jim Schwartz them to be creative enough that we would see Za'Darius Smith, Obo, and Myles Garrett.
I was thinking that.
G. Bush.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Right?
Jason, I had a dream, and I'm going to pitch this out to you guys. And this was,
Dream.
this was a football wet dream here. And it is Za'Darius Smith on the left edge, Obo on the right edge, Tomlinson and 1 defensive tackle, and Myles Garrett standing up over the center with a little Euro step. And he's on the right side, so you got 1 Euro step on the interior right side of the line. You got Za'Darius Smith doing the Euro step rip move that G. Bush alluded to and showed in that Twitter clip yesterday from Smith, and you got a double Euro step with a bull rush in between and Obo going one-on-one with the right tackle from the wide 9.
Yeah.
That's football porn.
Yeah.
That's football porn.
Listen, I just
Wet dreams, porn.
Better than a Happy Meal.
I was over here, and then while I was talking to it, I was like a dog in heat. My knees just kept going. I was like, oh my goodness, McNuggets, pause. Oh, there they go. Those are my knees. Look at my knees going. Hey, bro, listen, that Greyhound package, that is the Greyhound package. When you get Za'Darius Smith, you get Myles Garrett, you get a couple of, I might even put Hill in there. I like your pass rush ability. When you get 4 defensive ends up there, and it's all basketball. You see Kevin Stefanski got these dudes playing basketball at practice, right? And we missed one, McNuggets. We missed it. I need JOK giving them that step back, that AKA blitz bluff. Oh, I'm up here blitzing. Step back. I'm out here shooting. They're going to have guys coming on blitzes. You might not know where they at. And Jim Schwartz is the first dude to really start talking about manipulating defensive tackles, right? He talks about even the timing of engaging. He wants guys to actually engage with a defensive tackle and then drop back. Because now once you engage, he has to engage you and the blocking schemes are all messed up. Now you got a guy coming right behind you, coming free. When he talks about some of the stuff that he's able to do with messing up protections, messing up schemes, because at the end of the day, you don't need to blitz all the time to get pressure. You just need to mess up their protection scheme. And he talked about it. Sometimes we don't need incomplete passes. We don't even need sacks. Sometimes we schedule and run in the defense just so they think that they ought to throw the ball fast and it's 3 yards and you're off the field. That's what you need.
And speaking of pressure, there's a ton of pressure this season on Kevin Stefanski.
Oh, yeah.
Because on paper, Andrew Berry has done a magnificent job this offseason.
Can't say nothing.
And they brought in, and whoever you give credit for, they have again, on paper, huge upgrade at DC, huge upgrade at special teams coach. So we'd expect those units to be better. I'm expecting the defense to be good this year. I'm expecting special teams to be way improved this year. It's all on the offense, and it's all on Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson's young enough that a year out and a suspension and should not ruin his entire career.
Correct.
He's got to play great, and it's partly on Stefanski to get him great with the right play calling and scheme and all that stuff.
Man,
they have enough talent at wide receiver. They got one of the top backs in the league. David Njoku's good enough at tight end, and you got a good offensive line. There's no excuse for them not to play well.
We're here, people. The Cleveland Browns fan base has waited for years for this. We waited for years to have a coach marry an offense with a prime-time, bona fide quarterback with a skill set. Not the guys that's dinking and dunking, not the 5'10 tryhards, not the guy that's going to take all the checkdowns. We got a bona fide quarterback that can move in the pocket. Now it's time to see what it looks like. If the Browns were smart, I would love to be a fly on the wall. To be in these sessions with him and Deshaun Watson is cooking up these plays, talking about what the new age Browns offense is going to look like. Because trust me, this is supposed to be a new age Browns offense. This is a new world order. This is not your grandfather's 3 tight end game. I want to see how well he acclimates this guy. And at the same time, we cannot forget about Nick Chubb. This offense cannot forget about Nick Chubb. Just because we throw the ball does not mean we diminish his meaning and value. Yeah. If he can marry the two and do it in a way that Deshaun is comfortable and Nick Chubb is still a part of this offense, the Cleveland Browns will be a team where for the first time you can wake up on a Sunday and not be scared because you know you can compete with anybody on that schedule.
They are feeling it in the building. They all feel it. They know what's at stake this year. They have to win.
Absolutely.
And they know they have to win.
There's a ton of pressure to win.
This has to work because, frankly, I don't want to consider what happens if it doesn't. Like, if this doesn't work,
I mean,
what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
G said before that Mary Kay was on yesterday and said it's the most talent the Browns have had in however long. Do you agree?
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, especially because the quarterback,
right?
And nationally, people are not expecting Watson to go back to being Watson. And I think here in Cleveland,
I've seen some people, but
For the most part,
a lot of people are not.
He's not mentioned among the top quarterbacks.
No.
But I think everyone here expects that to happen.
Yes.
If that happens,
no limit to how good they can be.
Yeah, this is the most talented team that they've had. Certainly,
Yes.
I think since they came back. I mean, I have to go back and look at the 0-2 team, but I think this is the most talented team.
I mean, they've never had a more talented quarterback than Deshaun Watson.
No, I don't think so.
Never. I don't think. I don't give a rat's ass about Otto Graham. Don't bring up Otto Graham to me. I don't care about Otto Graham. There were 8 teams. I don't give a shit about Otto Graham. I don't care. He was a random white dude. He probably couldn't play now. Love him. Let's go.
We got the poll results here from our question of the day, which was the Cleveland's Brown defensive line is the best in blank. And the answer to the poll is brought to us, as always, by PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. The question was, the Cleveland Browns defensive line is the best in blank. We gave them 4 options, over 500 votes. 8% said the Browns have the best D-line in football. 50% say the Browns have the best defensive line in the division. 9% say the best defensive line in the AFC Conference. And 33% say none of the above. So,
as opposed to the AFC non-conference?
Well, just they don't have the best in any.
I'm just busting
second
your
best,
balls.
third best. So
all right, very good. So
pretty split. That actually, the fact that we had a third say none.
That's pretty reasonable.
Good job by there for not being too biased.
So 81% said either the best in the division.
No, 67. 33 said none of the above.
No. 80. I think wasn't it a total between best in the division and none of the above? Wasn't that a total of 80%? Or no?
Oh yeah. Best in the division. Or
yeah.
none of
So
the above.
I think those people are all being reasonable at this point. By the way, one last thing on the Browns before we move on and get to some Cav stuff, guys. This was not on our rundown, but of course, Tyvis texted right before the show and goes, Browns Twitter is talking about Zeke Elliott. Some random, people on Twitter. I don't know who this is. How many times does anybody think Zeke Elliott makes any sense for the Browns? And you guys, what do you think? Because I think it makes no sense.
If Zeke Elliott went to Purdue, would we be having this conversation?
That's the first time we've talked about the Ohio State angle.
Yeah,
you are correct. I don't think Zeke would have been mentioned like that, like if he wasn't from Ohio State.
Of course not. I remember when David Lighty was coming out of the draft, and Cavs fans were like, "Go get David Lighty!" If David Lighty was from Poughkeepsie, would you care at all about David Lighty? And it's the same thing with Zeke. You might as well go get Kareem Hunt and bring him back. Who's that
little shooting guard they transferred from Xavier during the championship run? I think he started with Conley, but he was a 2 guard. I'm gonna have to look it up though.
By the way, Zeke is younger than you think. He's actually just going to turn 28 this summer. However,
ain't no tread left on them tires.
He doesn't listen. You still need a 4th and 1. You're on the goal line. He can help you. But Nick Chubb's already good at that stuff. What do I need Zeke Elliott for? Yeah. The running back position is a young man's game more than any other position in football. I got a young back. I got to see what he's made of. I'll give him some opportunity. Nick Chubb's my guy. I don't need Zeke Elliott doing this. I don't need that. Let him go somewhere else and do it. I think he can still contribute to a team. I don't think he's a fit here, and I agree with you. If I had to choose between Zeke and Hunt, not that I really want either back on this team, that wouldn't be back for Zeke. I actually think Hunt would make more sense between the two because at least he's more of a pass-catching back.
Zeke just does not. He don't seem explosive to me.
No, he's lost that.
Now remember when Zeke had the mid-drift on, right? When Zeke was wearing the halter tops at Ohio State.
With that jack belly.
This dude was getting the rock and leaving people.
Yeah.
He was getting the ball and running past everybody straight. No cuts, nothing. Just Zeke Elliott wide open.
Yeah.
Now he's getting hit.
He needs to go to – I'll tell you where he should go. I don't know if they're interested in him. If I'm him, the team that makes sense is the Chargers because their only back is Eckler, and he's more of the scat back, pass-catching back. He's really good. But you could use Elliott as your goal line 4th down back with the Chargers. That makes sense. The Browns don't need that. I don't understand it. And Jason's right. If he didn't play at Ohio State, nobody would be even talking about him. The guy's obviously seen his better day. All right, Mikey, let's switch things up. You got a good question for us when it comes to the NBA. By the way,
yes.
What's that?
And real quick, the report that came out this morning about the Zeke Elliott interest in other teams.
That's from a bogus source, right?
Came from an absolute nobody.
Yeah, I don't know why
nobody
anybody
site.
brought that up.
But you know how Twitter works. It's not just Brown's Twitter. It is Twitter in general. Any rumor becomes news, and then it becomes a talking point. But this came from absolutely no one credible. Don't put anything into it.
I mean, this is the new Elon Musk Twitter.
By the way,
is
before you ask us this Cavs-related question, we just got to talk for a minute because I don't know how much you guys talked about it yesterday, and Jason and I weren't here yesterday. What an embarrassing performance. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. You know, Mike mentioned Doc Rivers got fired.
Oh, if you're going with the Sixers, that's the second part of our NBA conversation.
Sorry,
so
my bad. I forgot about that. Go ahead. We'll get to it later.
Okay, this next segment, by the way, is brought to us by the USFL. I know we're talking basketball, but on weekends throughout the summer, the spring, and into the fall, the USFL is family-friendly fun for everybody. Check them out. They play in Canton all over the country. Tickets for $10. Check them out, USFL.com. Well worth the news. The Cavs obviously had a wing issue this year. We know that.
I'd say so.
They had nobody to play really the three position, and when it counted most, they turned to Danny Green, Isaac Okoro. They tried Dean Wade. It didn't work. No matter how you slice and dice it, they have an issue at the three position. And they don't have a ton of money to spend. They have a mid-level exception. They're going to bring back Karis LeVert. But as it currently stands, Steve, you can take the graphic right here. These are the wings under contract, assuming LeVert comes back for the Cavaliers next season. LeVert, Okoro, Jetty Osman, Lamar Stevens, Dean Wade, and Sam Merrill, who Bull did not know was a real player.
Yeah.
Who he is. Jason,
yeah.
Real quick, one sentence. Would you give a scouting report on Sam Merrill to Bull? One sentence.
Shoot.
He's a white dude, isn't he?
It's a white guy who shoots.
I knew he was white.
He can shoot.
So I scavenged the interweb. The free agent market, the upcoming free agent market, for guys who I think realistically, these are three realistic targets for the Cavs who I think could fill that 3-and-D spot. I'm going to present them to you. You guys tell me which one you like the most, and if any of the three can actually move the needle for the Cavs. First, Lakers 3-and-D wing, Malik Beasley. He's an unrestricted free agent. Number 2, Donte Divincenzo. He played postseason minutes for the Warriors this year, former Buck. He played at Villanova, won a national championship. And last but not least, Georges Niang of the 76ers, a little bigger 3-and-D guy. He's kind of more of a stretch 4 than a true 3-and-D, but he did shoot 40% from 3 this year, can play in the playoffs, was in the Sixers rotation in this postseason. So not great. But of those three,
that's the choices?
Who do you like the most?
Are you excited about any of those?
I think DiVincenzo can help him.
Yeah?
I think, doesn't he have a player option, Mikey? I think he's.
Mike, does he have a player option?
I
don't believe. I'll double check, but he was on the list of wing free agents.
Well, because he's probably going to decline it because it's less than $5 million.
So
he'll probably decline it and go back into the market.
If he's the best three on the market.
I mean, right there, I was just going to say, I thought he shot around 40%. Right there it is. 40% three-point shooter. That's what they need. Like, I screamed all through the playoffs. Shooting. Now, 9.5 points per game isn't going to get anyone excited, but remember what team he's on.
Playing with the Warriors.
Yeah, he's playing with the Warriors. But he does have postseason experience. He has big game experience. He can shoot it. You would hope that he was up and down in this postseason, but he's a role player. That's what role players do. They tend to be erratic at times.
The whole team was up and down.
Yeah. Well, if you can shoot 40% from 3, you can play on my team. And that's what I think the Cavs need to focus on more than anything is shooting. And I like DiVincenzo a little bit more than those other guys.
DiVincenzo does, by the way, have a player option, but it's for $4 million. He will most certainly opt out.
He got originally drafted by Milwaukee.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm taking him. Like, look. Not only can he shoot, he's more athletic than the rest of the Georges Niang. Now, I like Niang, too. He pisses me off when we play him because he never wants to lose. I don't like him and Strus. They're the same guy. They're twins. I don't like them. They piss me off the way they play. But
also shot 40% from 3.
If you could swap, I don't know how much money they got. If you could swap Niang and DiVincenzo out for like a Lamar Stevenson and I don't know who else we got on the bench, a Jetty or something, you take it, bro.
But are these real? Can they get these guys for the mid-level exception?
Yeah, all 3 of these guys, and Jason, you can come back, but these are 3 realistic options for the mid-level exception, which is the money they do have to spend. These guys would fit into the mid-level exception.
What did Beasley shoot this year?
You take Beasley's stats, 37, 38.
Yeah, I was going to say
30s.
35.
They're all the guys who have made threes. Beasley's fallen out of the rotation. He shot 36% this year. He's kind of fallen out of the Lakers rotation, but he was a bigger part of the offensive rotation in Minnesota and Utah.
So let me ask you guys a question. because I'm not going to be a phony. I don't know these guys well enough to make it a good opinion, so I'm going to bring it to you guys. Who's the best? You like Divincenzo the best?
Yeah.
Who do you like the best?
Divincenzo.
Mikey, who do you like the best of those three?
I think Divincenzo makes the most sense, even though he's a little undersized for the 3. So it's another smaller 3 for when the
So
postseason
can he
rolls
defend
around.
other threes?
He hustles. He's a better defender of a guard than a true wing.
And he's more he's not a regular white dude. Like he's athletic. Like his name is Donte.
Yeah.
That's one.
That's true.
He
does have
can
the
move.
name.
Listen, he can put the ball on the ground, 3, 4, 5, 6 dribbles and create a little bit. Now you ain't gonna ask him to put the ball in his hands, but I mean Georges Niang he's like a step more athletic than me.
I'm just wondering now if I'm a regular white dude. Am I just
You're a regular white dude.
Yep. You don't.
No special white dude here.
If you don't own any mid tops, like
Those are the coolest shoes I've got right there. That's it.
If you don't got mids,
That makes me definitely a regular.
Oh, listen, you got
but
New
I don't
Balance
even
and Brooks.
consider myself a white dude.
Well, I guess you could just say you're Jewish.
Yeah, I don't.
You could get that. That's a whole distinction.
I feel like I'm in my own category.
Okay.
Okay, so you didn't answer though. In the end, how much better is Divincenzo than the non-Levert guys on that list, or
He's
even
better.
Levert?
The answer is yes.
He's better than him.
So Divincenzo's a better shooter than anybody they got of the others.
More consistent.
Yes.
Yeah.
For his career, just to give you
Yeah.
numbers, for Divincenzo from 3, he shot 27% as a rookie. Not good, 3 attempts. Next season, 34% on 4 attempts. Next season, 39% on 5 attempts. Then in Milwaukee in 2021, he got traded midway through the season. He only played 42 games that year, but he shot 35%. And this past season, on 5 attempts per game, 5.3, he shot 39.7%. So pretty consistently a high 30s three-point shooter.
Okay. And he's what, 24 years old, 25 years old, something like that?
He's older than that.
He just turned 26.
Okay.
Just turned 26.
He's not old, but he's not
No, he's not
young.
old.
I mean, it seems like, to me, again, it seems like, okay, he helps them. He probably makes them better. But is he a difference maker to them getting to another round? Probably not.
You're not going to find a difference
you
maker.
can't get a guy like
You're not going to find a difference maker.
Is he the best guy they can reasonably get? Probably.
Barring a trade, yeah, probably.
Okay. And who would be available in trade?
I don't know. It's so hard because you don't know what teams. I do think. I mean, we had this discussion before. I don't think they're moving Jared Allen, but I do think that Jared Allen does have value. I know he got cooked against the Knicks, and it didn't go well for him. But I talked to a couple teams after that. We were like, yeah, I still like Jared Allen. Yeah, he's a player in this league. So I do think if they did want to explore that, I think that there's value there for him. I just don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to run this back.
Bull, this is, to me, I've already resigned myself to thinking and looking at the big plan. They are, to me, I don't see any way that they don't lose Donovan Mitchell. It just is what it is. And I think what they're telling you is they're trying to slow play you a little bit. They're trying to just be like, don't worry about it. If he does leave, we have some other things we can do. That they're doing that in real time. Because honestly, if you don't have any way, these are the best players you can get, right? I'm not dumb. We ain't dumb. Look at that level these guys is playing in the playoffs. Look at the level.
Yes.
This is masterclass level. And if the Cavs play the best they're capable of, they're still not on this level. And so, okay, well, how do you make the team better? If he says he's not going to trade anybody, and you take him at his word, Donovan Mitchell goes into next season. The Cavs are a 1 through 5 seed. They come, they play. Maybe they win a first-round series. They get bounced in the second round. Now Donovan Mitchell has 1 year left, and you're looking at what can we ship him to.
That's right.
So I don't understand what
Unfair? Fair?
I think it's unfair.
Okay.
I think they can be better than that. Like I said this year, I thought they were the 3rd best team in the East.
Did?
Yeah. Now I never liked Philly. I never bought into Philly. I got
Yeah.
the receipts on that. Now Philly had a better regular season. They went farther.
And a better
than the
postseason,
Cavs.
even though they choked.
and they went farther. But I've never bought into the Philly. I don't like Harden. I don't like Embiid.
I don't think the Cavs can beat Philadelphia.
Oh, I think they can. Next year, I think
Is
they
Philadelphia going to blow? Let me ask you this. Is Philadelphia going to blow things up after another embarrassing loss? They fire their coach. And I know this guy's making an absurd amount of money, but is there any way they could trade for Tobias Harris? The Cavs.
The Cavs?
He's making like $40 million next year.
Yeah.
I know he's overpaid, but he's a good player.
Philly would love to get rid of him, I'll tell you that. He's making $39 million next year, but I don't know how in the world they finagle that.
But isn't he a good player? I mean, I know he's not worth
not a
$40
million
player.
I
know that, but he's a lot better than anybody else
What's
they
he
have.
got left on his contract?
1 year. It's only 1 year.
They're gonna.
Is he not a lot better than anybody they have?
They're gonna have to make one of these decisions, boo. Like,
you're
gonna have to either you're gonna overpay somebody that ain't worth it, like, because in I just don't see where, like, if we say they could beat Philadelphia, Joel Embiid dominates against us. Like, he's unstoppable. Like, but against these other teams, sure, he shrinks to the party when it's Boston. But like we watching Boston, they're good.
Let me ask you guys: if Tobias Harris, I know he's overpaid, but who cares? If Tobias Harris is in this starting lineup, how much better are the Cavs?
A lot.
Better, not a lot. He's
you don't
good,
think
but
he's significantly better than Donte DiVincenzo or Karis LeVert?
I mean, he's older. He doesn't really
But it's
defend
1
that
year.
well.
It's 1 year, and you think, well, maybe Donovan Mitchell's going to leave. So let's get the best wing player we can get. I mean, I don't think they can get somebody better than him.
How are you fitting this $40 million salary?
Go over the cap. F it.
But you still have to, if you're going to trade for him, you still have to make the salaries match.
Okay.
So Jared Allen will get you $20 million. He'll get you halfway there, but I don't know where you're going to come up.
You trade Jared and Karis to equal Tobias. That's 40.
Well, there you go. And now you're really deficient at wing without Karis there. I don't know.
They're screwed.
But isn't he a lot better than Karis? No, you don't think he's a lot better than Karis?
So there's two debates here that, in terms of like the cap, and maybe for the sake of this argument, we'll carry that out. Maybe that doesn't put them into the tax.
Yeah.
Mike, does the money match enough to where they're not they're not a tax-paying team with those two?
The Cavs?
Yeah.
Does the cap go up next year or no?
For the sake of the argument, yeah. If you do the
it's essentially a wash.
Okay.
Essentially a wash.
Okay.
All right, because like you don't the Cavs' feeling on this, and I don't think this has changed. They don't want to become a tax-paying team until Evan signs his extension, and they want to try and suppress it until then, because once you start that clock, you can't stop it.
Right.
And the repeat offender tax is really getting out of control now in terms of how punitive it is and the way that they're cracking down on these owners. But now the other track is, well, you have Donovan Mitchell here right now.
That's right.
And you have to win right now.
And you've said I think
next
if
year
they don't win,
I think
he's
next year
gone.
I think next year very well could be.
So
what
I'm saying is,
so now do you start the clock now, trying to keep him,
right?
But now you've just screwed yourself 3-4 years from now. Like you've really messed up your cap.
But in the end, it's just money from a billionaire. Who cares?
Dan blinked. Like, people don't realize.
Dan's not running the show anymore.
No, but it's still his checkbook. It's his money.
He's richer than God.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Now you.
The Cavs have to suffer because a billionaire is going to be cheap.
No, when it came repeat offender time.
Yeah, he didn't want to pay it.
I think I'd have to go back and look, because I don't want to get this wrong. I think it was Verjao that they moved that they didn't have to.
That's
they
right.
didn't have to move.
You're
him,
right.
But they dumped that money because they were bringing on Channing. And the way that, like, even Dan blinked. Like, the repeat offender got so bad that even Dan blinked on it. And
it's worse now.
And it's worse now.
It's worse now. The new CBA, which sucks, by the way. I'm very upset the new CBA rules, because I'd finally understood the NBA salary cap, luxury tax, offenders, and now they completely changed everything. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, here's the problem. When you sit down as an organization, and they're looking at 3-4 years down the line with ramifications on repeat offender taxes and stuff. If you had the foresight to do that and look 3-4 years in line, why did you not say, well, we're going to trade 3-4 years of number one picks for Donovan Mitchell,
That's right.
and then not do anything?
And then let me say something else to that point, okay? The Golden State Warriors are done, aren't they?
Probably. They are in cap.
They are done. LeBron's going to be another year older. I know it's ridiculous. Eventually, he's going to hit the wall.
Eventually, he's going to fall off.
People have been saying that for 5 years.
Good gracious.
I mean, the league is – it feels like the league's kind of open right now.
But I think that's why they want to sort of keep their powder dry on the tax. Sort of what you're just saying. The Celtics aren't going to be good forever. The Sixers aren't going to be good forever. It's all in the East right now. I actually think the Lakers could win the whole thing.
Yeah,
but it's all in the East right now. That's where the power is. But it's not always going to be that way. And the Cavs have if you want to count Darius and Evan and Jarrett, which they are, if you want to count those three guys, they're going to have more staying power than a lot of these other teams.
But Jason, what, as G said, and I agree, what was the point of trading for Donovan Mitchell?
Because
you weren't going to go all in.
I agree. I understand that. I get it. And it may have been a little early to push all in, but you never know when these guys are going to become available.
Right.
And he fit age-wise, he fit need-wise, he fit what they needed, so they pushed all in.
So
and
why?
it's hard for me to kill him for this because I killed him over Kyrie because they had a chance to win and they didn't go for it.
And I'm not.
Well, now they feel like they have a chance to win and they did go for it. So you can't kill them both ways.
Agreed. And I'm not killing them for trading for Donovan Mitchell. But I will kill them if they're not willing to go into the tax to make the team as good as possible and try to win a championship next year.
It's a tough spot to be in.
And so in my mind, they need to acquire the best wing player they can possibly get at whatever cost it takes financially. Now, I'm not saying trade Evan Mobley or whatever. No, I'm not saying that. But if I have to trade Jared Allen or LeVert, if I have to go over the tax, I'm a freaking billionaire. Let's go. Do it. I want to win.
And here's the thing. If we smart enough to understand this, what is his agent telling Donovan? His agent is telling him, listen, if the Cavs really were all in on winning, like they said they were, and they feel like you are a piece, they will do what they need to do to improve this roster. And when you say we're not going to make any significant moves, everyone is savvy enough to say, well, maybe Altman was hyperbole. He's not going to say that. He'll do some stuff. But then it's no coincidence that Donovan Mitchell is at these other NBA games, dapping people up, hugging people at half court, because he's saying, look, I want to be here. I want to be in this level. And you're telling me that we are here, but you're not willing to do anything, make any sacrifices for here.
And the bottom line is the Cavs don't have a lot of assets to trade. So the only way they can get better at that position is to probably trade for a guy who's overpaid and a team wants to get rid of. Is there a guy better than Harris?
I'd have to scour the rosters again, but
I mean,
it's a weak free agent class.
Okay, so if it's a weak free agent class, you just mentioned three guys. Tobias Harris is better than all those guys, I think.
What about Harrison Barnes?
He makes a lot of money too.
Hey, no Harrison Barnes. He can hit a three.
I'm not a big Harrison Barnes.
Okay. We still going down the line. Jaylen Brown, what is he doing? He's going to get traded? What are you doing?
Yeah, but what do the Cavs see in his case? The Cavs have nothing to trade to get.
Oh, they would have to dip into the real players.
Right. Yes. Whereas Tobias
not
Harris,
the fake players.
Right, Tobias Harris, you can get just to take him off their cap.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm thinking like Tobias Harris is the perfect player because he's good. He's just not $40 million good. But if you're willing to take the hit financially, he's worth it because you won't have to give up much to get him.
Yeah.
The Cavs.
Well, you do have to give up a lot to get him just to match the salaries. Like that's like theoretically speaking, you don't have to give up, but you can't just take on.
So
that
let's say they had to trade. Is there anybody else they could trade besides Jared Allen? No.
I'm going to look up the Cavs' current contract situations to see what we could add.
You don't think they would trade Jared Allen no matter what?
I wouldn't say no matter what, but I don't think they're actively shopping him this summer. No.
They're not going to trade Garland.
No. But who is their hot besides the big four, if you will?
Okay, you guys ready for their salaries?
Yeah.
So next season, 2023-2024, Darius Garland's making $33.5 million.
Forget Darius Garland. They're not trading.
I'm just going down the line.
He's going on the list.
Garland's making $33.5 million.
Yeah.
Donovan makes $33.1. Jared Allen makes $20. Okoro makes $9. Mobley makes $9. Osman makes $6.7. Rubio makes $6.1. Dean Wade makes $5.7. Sam Merrill makes $1.9.
Okay.
And Lamar Stevens $1.9.
Okay. So let me ask you this. All right. Tobias, the Sixers just want to get rid of his contract, correct?
Yes, they would like to do that.
They would trade him just to get the cap relief. Is that fair? They're not looking for much in return. Do you think that's fair or no? Or am I overstating?
But if you're trading $40 million back to them, you're not relieving anything.
That's a good freaking point.
Very.
Yeah.
So why are they going to get rid of him if it's just 1 year?
Right.
Because they have James Harden possibly in the last year of his deal coming up. They have Embiid. They're going to have a new coach. Harris is a guy who wants the ball more than he gets in Philadelphia.
Okay, well, let me ask you this.
You ain't going to get it here either.
Could you trade Philly? Could you trade Philly, Isaac Okoro, Jetty Osman, and Ricky Rubio, and some second-round picks to get Tobias Harris.
No, that's not enough money.
Money has
Yes,
to
it
match.
is.
Say it again.
That's $21 million.
He's making 40.
Oh shoot, he's making $40 million.
Damn. Look,
Keep
bro.
going.
Oh my God.
Go.
All right, well, you'd have to trade Jared Allen.
Yeah.
You would have to
Or
trade Jared.
Levert. Or Levert could
How
be
much
the
Levert
starting
make?
place. Well, he could be a sign and trade.
Sign
He's
and
probably
trade.
going to get 18, 19 million.
All right, so who would you rather? If you're trading for Tobias Harris, who'd you rather trade, Allen or Levert? Probably Levert, right?
man, this is-
Honestly, I'd put Mobley at the 5 and surround him with shooters.
there it is.
Trade Allen.
Yeah.
There
Okay,
it is.
so let me ask you this: could you trade Allen and those 3 slapdicks that I mentioned? You keep Levert, you get Tobias Harris, and you sign Donte Divincenzo to the exception. You don't go. In fact, you gave away over $40 million in that trade. 4 players. You'd have to get a bunch of slapdicks back from Philadelphia, like lower roster guys.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Would Philadelphia ever take a non-shooting center to pair with Joel Embiid?
Yeah, that's the other problem with that.
They're not taking
And
Jared.
Jared Allen is more trade value than Tobias Harris.
All
Far
right.
more. Far more.
Well, I see where you're coming from. I totally get
I'm
you.
just saying, like-
you're trying to think of a trade.
I'm trying to think of a way,
appreciate
like,
it.
by that, if you could somehow add Harris and DiVincenzo, 2
Great offseason.
legitimate good shooters and scorers, the Cavs would be a lot better if you could do that without breaking up, their other 3.
What do you think about Kyle Kuzma?
I like Kuz.
Is he a free agent?
I like Kuz.
I believe
He's going to make a
He's
lot
going
of
to
money.
get more
though.
than he's going to get more
Chris
than
Porzingis.
He's always hurt, isn't he?
he's got a lot of injuries.
Cam Johnson is another guy.
He's restricted. Though.
He's
That's the issue with
restricted.
him.
Carmelo Anthony.
Nah, I'm straight.
Oh, I need something stronger than coffee. in this cup.
And with that, it's a great time to remind the world that the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is sponsored by Calling Companies Championship. You can see all of your favorite golf legends playing the Calling Companies Championship July 12th through the 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. It is fun, family-friendly events all week long featuring a brand new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids and concerts every single night. There is something for everyone, and you can learn more at callinggolf.com. If we accomplished anything in that, we have learned that it's not going to be easy for the Cavs to retool this roster.
At all.
And there are not a ton of options out there with how to go about doing so.
By the way, one other thing in the NBA tonight, Game 1, Western Conference Finals, Lakers at Nuggets. The Bet Rivers line is 6.5. Nuggets are favored. The Nuggets are favored to win the series. They are minus 165, so not a huge favorite to win the series. The Celtics, by the way, are minus 500, so they're a huge favorite. Who do you guys like in the series? Who do you like tonight, and who do you like in the series?
I like the Lakers.
Yeah.
I like the Lakers.
I'm picking the Nuggets. I'm probably nuts.
I
but-
like-
No, you're not nuts. They're good.
They're good. Jokic is out there killing people right now. With his bare hands moving slow. I've never seen nobody really just slow. If he was a Pokemon, his name would be Slow Bro. Like he would just be like he'd be a sedentary Pokemon that stands in the road that just blocks ways. Like
The biggest problem the Lakers are going to have in this series is figuring out how to guard Jokic, who to put on him.
Yeah.
Because they don't have it. There's no ideal.
What, Davis can't?
Davis don't like guarding big centers.
he
prefers playing the four.
He feels he's a power forward.
So
in his
who
mind.
defends him?
I don't know. What's
his name? The kid they got from Minnesota?
Vanderbilt, possibly. I mean, because that's
How tall is Vanderbilt?
6'8".
I don't like how the fact that he's good right. How they found him. He's nice.
He was nice on Minnesota.
Vanderbilt's always been good. He's a hustle
Who
guy.
do you like in this series?
My brain says pick the Nuggets. They're the better team. I can't pick against LeBron. I'm picking
It's
the
hard
Lakers,
to pick against
but I
LeBron.
can't pick against
By the way, I saw something that said the Celtics have a 97% chance to win. That's ridiculous.
They done lost their mind.
With Eric
Absurd.
Spoelstra?
They done
Is Eric
lost it.
Spoelstra now the best coach in the NBA?
Yes.
Oh, I've thought that for
He's
years.
been.
He's
Yes.
past Pop?
Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
yeah. I mean,
Yes.
talent's got a lot to do with it. He's got a lot more to work with. But Spo and Jimmy Butler, and you're going to give them a 3% chance?
They almost lost to the Sixers.
Yeah.
What type of? See, I love the way the LeBron factor is big. LeBron play a lot of different ways. Like LeBron can be scoring. LeBron can be. I'm gonna get my guys in the mix early. LeBron. I'm gonna be facilitator. I'm gonna be aggressive in the post. LeBron and get to the free throw line. What type of LeBron would you think we're gonna see this series in order to beat the Nuggets?
I think you're going to see the same passive LeBron that you've seen. I don't know if he's got another gear left, but it's not time for it yet. game one of the conference finals is not time for it yet. I know that sounds crazy, but I think if he's got another gear, it's very limited. Whether it's the foot or age or whatever, this is not the same guy that we saw here 2016, 2017, 2018. But I think he smells it. Like, I think he smells it. It's there for him. He's got one more shot at a ring, and this is it.
And if he doesn't win it this year, it's probably over.
I mean, unless
unless he went to be the third or fourth guy
until he comes
team,
back to Cleveland next.
Yeah, Jason Lloyd said LeBron's coming back to Cleveland. He didn't say that. He kind of did.
That next gear is like this. It's like this old school. It's a show named Guyver, man. It's like a mobile suit. It's a little Japanese anime. Boy, this dude was like, yo, every time he would go super, it would take his life points away. Like, I can go super, but it's going to take 4 years off my life. I can't do it.
Like,
I think
the Memphis game, if you remember, when he threw it high off the glass,
just
over the outreach, he was passive that whole game. And that one, the one gotta have it moment, he had it. It was there. But just for that one moment.
You know, he's so smart.
Oh, yeah.
That he knows that he can't do it as often as he used to.
I can't save you today. I ain't got it, and I need this for dire straits.
They rely so heavily on AD, and that's the only thing that scares you about that team. They're not a great team. The Lakers are not a great team. But AD, when he's engaged and locked in, is really good. And you got the LeBron factor, and the West is so bad that might be enough.
Yeah.
Now, I picked Boston before the postseason started. I picked them to win it all.
Any of the 4 teams can win it? You think any of the 4 teams can win?
I think Miami would have the hardest time winning it all. I do agree with that.
Same 4 teams as the
but
bubble.
I'm going to give them more than a 3% chance of doing it for
Isn't
sure.
it interesting that it's the same 4 teams
that
as the bubble
wild.
year?
Yeah, that's
Ain't
wild.
gonna shame.
If the Lakers can figure out how to guard Jokic, I like them a lot, but
what
I
do you
don't
think
know
they should do? What would you do?
I don't know. I'd put LeBron on him, but I don't know if LeBron can handle him for
a whole game.
Right. I don't know that he can handle him, but I don't know where else you go. I don't know. It might have to be. I keep forgetting his name.
Let me ask you this.
What's the other guy? The one you said.
Vanderbilt.
Thank
Jared
you.
Vanderbilt.
I can
Let me
never
ask you
remember
this
his
question.
name.
I'm going to blow all your minds now.
Pause.
If the Nuggets
Bonk. Put it on the list.
If the Nuggets win a championship this year, do we now have to say Jokic is the best player in the NBA?
Yes.
The guy's won 2 of the last 3 MVPs.
Easily could have won it 3 in a row.
Let's face it, the only reason he didn't win this year is because of what Kendrick Perkins said.
I don't know.
Got scared.
It played a part.
It
I don't
played
know
a
if that's
role.
the only reason.
It
but
played a
a
role.
part.
The only thing he doesn't have is postseason success. Mm-hmm. If he wins a title,
I'm gonna say this. Man, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
They holding him back, bro. There is a fraction of the NBA that feels like we cannot let, like, it's almost like they're saying we not gonna let Jokic, a foreign white dude, be the best player.
They pick him last in the All-Star game.
And
that's crazy.
And for me, I could actually say it because I got to keep it 100. If Jokic was black, he'd be already there. He'd be already up. But they're whether it's subconsciously or consciously, it's almost like they're not gonna give him his flowers and say what he is. But the dude he's there.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of truth in what G's saying. In defense of people who won't say it, he has done nothing. They haven't gone. They've only made the conference finals once with him.
Right.
And there was a second thing that I can't think of. Oh, and he's not a big media guy.
Yeah,
he plays in Denver, which is not a sexy market.
He doesn't have a flashy game. Right, he's not
a flashy game.
And the history, we'll give it to Bird because everybody that come on here, they say, listen, Bird played like us. Bird talked trash. Bird was in the mix. Bird did this. So they had to give it up to him. But when you look at Jokic, it's almost like they won't come out, and I think that was the reason they didn't give him this MVP because then it would have to say, this dude done won 3 MVPs. This dude is by far could go down as the best center of all time.
I mean, I think if he wins a title, I got to look at him as the best player in the NBA right now.
You can make that argument, and that actually leads right to the next topic.
Yeah.
I'm glad you went there because after Sunday's catastrophe for the Sixers, I was talking to some people in the league about who can really be an actual number 1 on a championship team.
Right.
Just because you win the MVP doesn't mean you can be a number 1 when it matters in the postseason, as we've alluded to.
Really? You should be.
You should be.
Should you? If you can't be a number one on a championship team, should you be an MVP?
Well, we're going to talk about you will see in a sec, but I have broken down the guys who I think in certain tiers can be legit number ones and who I've completely written off until they show me something else.
All right, go ahead.
So there's different tiers. I'll show you my tier. You guys then tell me if you have any issues with it. Then we'll go to the next tier and so on and so on. So you ready?
Yeah.
The first tier is there's no argument here. They've proven it before. We've seen them carry a team to a championship. And even in today's day and age, at their current state, I still think they can be option ones. And that's LeBron, Giannis, Steph, and Kawhi, who's always hurt, but when he's healthy, is still one of the 2 or 3
Yeah, but I don't think
best players.
outside of Giannis, any of those guys can be number ones to a championship anymore, dude.
Steph did it literally last year.
Oh, I do.
But
LeBron's doing it as we speak.
LeBron is still the number one.
Is he their number one, or is Anthony Davis their number one?
The number one.
I think they rely on AD the most, but I think LeBron is the best player on the court when he's on the court. Does that make sense? I don't even know if that makes sense.
And you'll see where Anthony Davis falls in on the very next category.
I would take Kawhi off that list.
Okay.
Kawhi's off the list, definitely.
That's when he's healthy.
And I think Curry, who did do it last year, agreed. I think he's done doing it.
Steph is, I don't want to say it.
He's done?
I'm not.
He's not
I'm not
Steph
as
Curry guy.
high on Steph as everybody else in the freaking world is.
Yeah.
I don't hate him.
There was an angry tone.
I just,
That was angry. Angry Jason.
I just think
He's overrated.
you put him on a team that doesn't have all that talent around it. He's had opportunities before when those guys were hurt, and they didn't go very far.
Well, here's the thing. When I gave him his credit and his flowers when they had 2 back-to-back terrible years, and then they came back and won a championship last year.
He is the greatest shooter to ever play in the game.
Right.
I don't know that he makes the people around him infinitely better just because he can shoot from 47
And
feet.
by the way, to be fair, LeBron belongs on a list by himself. Those guys don't belong on a list with LeBron.
Fair. And these are not ranked. These are just tiers. So
I hear
it's
you.
not
All right.
in order.
All right, go ahead.
I would
right, so
put
the
LeBron
next-
tier 1 and those other guys tier 2, but go ahead.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
The next tier is guys I know can be the best player on a championship team. They just haven't physically won a championship as option A yet. So, Steve, you can take this. But this is Jimmy Butler, Jokic, Anthony Davis, Durant, and Tatum. I truly believe that those guys can be the alpha dog.
Wasn't Durant the number one the year the Warriors?
Yeah, but you could argue it was him and Steph. He wasn't the true solidified number one, but I know he could be, despite what everyone says.
If he doesn't win another title, if he retires with just the Warriors titles, he's going to get looked at with a side eye.
Super side eye.
I agree with that. But I do think he is capable of being the number one option.
Yeah.
I agree. I like all those names on that list.
Yeah, that's a really nice list. I like that.
I can't disagree. All right, go ahead.
All right, the next tier is the I think they can. You go right to it, Steve. I think, and I'll explain real quick. I do think Booker is unstoppable offensively. And when he's in the rhythm, we saw in a couple games against the Nuggets, back-to-back 45, 46-point games, unbelievable. Jaylen Brown, I actually wanted to put on the list above. I was talked out of it by some guys in the NBA. And Doncic is clearly talented enough, but I don't think his style, being the guy who has the ball 40, 45% of the time, his usage rate historically high, I don't think that style is conducive to winning a championship. So he's on the I think they can be, but I'm not 100% positive yet.
I'm not sure about Jaylen Brown's offensive game. It seems like Jaylen Brown does enough stuff and plays with enough good players where it kind of masks some of the deficiencies. If you gave Jaylen Brown the rock and said, be the dude, I mean, is he going to get you 30 a game over a season? I don't know if that's the thing.
Devin Booker's had good players around him, and he's never won. So I don't know.
He was one game away from a finals.
Booker
2
was
years ago.
phenomenal in this postseason.
Yeah, he was
But
great.
not the last 2 games when it mattered.
Yeah, I know. I don't. That list to me is like I think they can. They need help. Is how I
Okay.
like.
So not true number
Those
one.
guys can't carry a team to a championship.
And maybe Jalen can. I mean, we haven't really seen Jalen away from
Yeah.
Tatum, like not prime Jalen. I really like Jalen Brown. I really like Jalen Brown. I like both those guys.
Remind me to ask you a question. What do you think about Monty Williams? Because
I like him.
That seems
I do a
ridiculous.
lot.
They fired him.
That's an owner that's just.
Should the Caps fire JB and hire Monty Williams?
Would it be an upgrade?
I mean, Monty's done more, but he's had more opportunities.
And
I
by the time-
like Monty Williams a lot.
do too.
He's a phenomenal guy, but JB's a phenomenal guy. So that's hard. That's hard. But I do like Monty.
Go ahead.
I actually had Jaylen Brown a bump higher than the 2 guys I spoke with who know more basketball than I do. Were like,
Knocked him down a
we're
notch.
not. Yeah, they knocked him down a list. Me and Earl actually had him a tier higher, and they knocked him down. So
I think that's where he belongs.
Surprised,
But I do.
I'm surprised Earl didn't have Donovan Mitchell on the top tier.
or I think I can.
Poor Earl.
Mitchell's coming at some point. Don't worry.
Yeah.
This is the maybe one day they could be, but it's too early. I haven't seen enough, but I've seen enough potential to think they possibly could be. And it's a 3-person list.
That headline.
There's Anthony Edwards, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Zion, who I think have shown me enough, but it's way too early to put them in.
I can't put Zion because I don't
category.
have any faith he's going to be healthy for all season.
This is crazy. I even forgot Zion Williamson it was even in the mix. I forgot he was alive.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go from? And by the way, when he is playing,
He's awesome.
he's averaging 27 and like 12 or something. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
but
He's never healthy.
I can't trust that
I have
guy.
no faith in Zion.
And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just feels like he feels to me like I felt about Dominique Wilkins when I was a kid. Like, awesome player, scores a ton of points, but is never going to win anything.
And Shai does not shoot the three. He gets all his buckets like underneath the three-point line, and I'm like,
That's what makes him so incredible.
that's crazy.
I don't think he's leading the team.
I think OKC's building a machine over
so?
there. Yes.
Get that.
They got a
They're
lot.
coming.
Picks,
Jason's hot.
a lot of
They're
picks.
coming.
So those are the people who I think could eventually be.
Yeah,
And there's some
okay.
guys like for example, before we take this next one, Steve, Mobley could be in there, but I didn't want to put him
Can't
on that
say
list
that.
yet because I haven't seen
Yeah,
that
yeah.
star level
No.
talent.
Oh, no.
I think his potential is high enough to be on that list, but I haven't seen it. Those 3 guys I have seen.
Yeah.
The next is 2 back-to-back no's.
Donovan Mitchell on none of these lists.
The next back-to-back are the no's. These are guys I am out on as being an alpha dog.
I know you hate Joel Embiid, so he's not.
So let's start.
Guy
Yeah,
won the
we're going to
MVP.
start with the 2 Philly guys. Embiid and Harden, completely out. I know too much, completely out on them. Paul George, can't be your number 1. Damian Lillard, can't be your number 1. John Morant, can't be your number 1. Steve, next.
Is Paul George even still in the league?
Yeah.
Yes. Mitchell, Donovan, that's Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell. I mixed their names up. Brunson, Bradley Beal, Karl Anthony Towns. Also other quote-unquote A-list number 1 option stars in the league who cannot be the alpha dog on a championship team. Outside of my spelling mistake, and I can't blame Anthony, that is me.
Yeah.
Any objections to those 10?
Go back to the screen. Go back.
So in other words, you're saying the Cavs can't win a championship because Donovan Mitchell is
Unless
their best player.
Mobley develops
Unless
into that option A.
Mobley goes past him as a player.
I think Damian Lillard. The only reason he's on this squad, this list, is because he just kept saying, "I'm going to stay in Portland." Portland's never going to have they just can't build nothing around him. But do I think Damian Lillard could be the best player on the team? Sure, I think he could. He just put himself out of contention. He just stays in Portland. So,
By the way, I just got a call just moments ago from
Rotten Tomatoes?
from the toilet paper factory. They said, please stop insulting us by calling Joel Embiid soft.
Charmin soft.
I don't know. I don't know if that made sense. My point is he's softer than soft, so I'm with you on that. John Morant obviously has mental health issues. He's got problems. You guys talked a lot about this yesterday.
Yeah, Ja Morant. First of all, his game. I love Ja Morant's. Like, he's high flyer. I don't know if that's conducive. I don't know if that was conducive to winning no games either. He's a high flyer. He does everything. He gets to the rack.
And by the way, sorry to cut you off, G, but I don't know how much you got into it. So I just wanted to say
They
this.
did 40 minutes on it yesterday.
Okay, so let me just say one quick thing on John Morant. I'm sure maybe this came up along the way because I see some people with the defense of, well, if it was a white dude holding a gun, did that come up yesterday? Did anybody bring that up?
I don't believe
How often?
Earl's going to get the mic. Earl, did that come up?
No, we didn't. No.
Okay, well, I've seen this on Twitter, and I want to bring this up. So there's this thing like, we often see like NRA rallies and all this lunatic stuff with guns because people are like obsessed with guns like it's porn. How come if a white guy's holding a gun, it's not a big deal, but now a young black man's holding a gun, it's a big deal? Well, there's 2 things here. Number 1, for me, it's a big deal if anybody's showing off with a gun. To me, if you're playing with a gun like it's a toy, I don't care if you're black or white, you're an idiot. Okay? It's that simple to me. It's not a toy. It's a very dangerous thing where people are dying all over the freaking country from these things. So to play with it like you're a big shot. Number 2, if you need a gun to make you think you're tough, you're not tough. If you need a gun to be tough, then you ain't tough, all right? So, but there are some crazy lunatics that celebrate some people with guns. That's a separate argument from this thing. The bottom line is this guy's coming off like a crazy person, and he's setting a bad example for young people that look up to him. And so we don't want to see this. That's just my thoughts on this. But I wouldn't trust him to be the leader of my basketball team because he obviously makes bad decisions.
Yeah, there's nothing else I can say to add that you guys haven't already covered here. The one thing I will say about Memphis, though, is like I've said for years, especially in the NBA, it's so fragile. And winning is so fragile. And 2 years ago, Memphis was like the darling of the league. And now they are on fire. Like the whole thing is just an absolute mess. And that's how quickly it can change. It just that fast. And it's really unfortunate because, I used to joke that Cavs-Grizzlies NBA Finals is going to be horribly rated and the league's going to hate it, but it's going to be a hell of a series. And I was not really joking. Like they were on that path for 4 or 5 years from now or whatever to meet, and Memphis is just an absolute disaster right now.
Everybody put away the guns. Stop with the gun obsession. Crying out loud. All right, moving along. Let's talk some baseball.
We got a call agreed, and let's talk a little baseball. But it is 12:30, which means the lunch hour of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is sponsored by Colleague Companies Championship. See all your favorite golf legends in action July 12th through the 16th at the famous Firestone Country Club. It is fun, family-friendly events all week long, featuring a brand-new fan zone experience, free attendance for kids and concerts every single night. There is something for everybody. Learn more at colleaguegolf.com. Bull. Little Guardians, little Emmanuel Clase, what's up? What's up with our guy?
A couple of things over the weekend that got lost. Well, first of all, I will start with Clase because that's what Mike brought up. I am a little concerned about him right now, Jason. He is. You look at the statistics. Obviously, they're not as good as they were last year. You look at his hits allowed, his walks allowed, his runs allowed, his blown saves. He's more than halfway. Like, he's already blown as many saves this year as he blew all of last year. See? You got it right there.
Good job, Earl.
Last year, he walked 10 batters the whole season. He's already walked 5. Now, 5, you might be thinking, well, 5 walks, that's not a lot. It is when you only walked 10 all of last year. He's on pace for 20 this year. That's a huge difference. That's 10 more base runners. Not to mention the fact he's given up more hits. And he's blown some big games for this team. Now, the Guardians, again, I'll say it for the millionth time, are very, very, just like Jason goes, shooting. I'm going to say they're very, 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 very lucky that they are in an ass division with ass teams. You look at the rest of the American League.
They'd be out of it.
The other two divisions, they would be so far. The Guardians have no shot at a wild card. It's division or bust.
Yes.
9 of the other 10 teams in the American League are good, or at least decent, except for Oakland. So that's the bigger picture. But Clase, I do have some concerns right now, Jason.
Yeah, and if you do want a good sign, Friday night he was throwing his cutter over 100.
Yeah.
First time that's really happened this year where he's consistently hitting 100. That's his nasty.
But he's not commanding his pitches as well.
And his velocity's been down.
That's true.
And, there was – our Zach Meisel has talked about this a few times where they feel in the organization that it's a pitch clock thing. Like, he's one of those guys that's been impacted by the pitch clock. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily totally understand how the pitch clock relates to velocity, but they firmly believe that the clock has had some sort of toll on him. Hopefully he adjusts to that as he gets used to it. As the weather warms, he's another guy. Mm-hmm. His velocity will come back as the weather in May, June, and July, as the temperatures increase. But absolutely, there's reason for concern, and we all know relievers can be volatile year to year.
That's right.
And guys, just because they're lights out one year, they could struggle the next. We
see it all the time.
Edwin Diaz was
Josh Hader.
awful.
Remember for last year, he was terrible.
Yeah.
Last year he had nearly an 8-to-1. Bring up those. Can you bring up those comparison stats again? Last year, I believe he had almost an 8-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, which is fantastic. Almost 8-to-1. This year, it's less than 3-to-1.
Yeah.
That is a massive difference. Massive.
But again, that to me points to also the velocity and not throwing the cutter over 100. And there's a big difference in 97 and 100.
In this baseball,
it's a huge difference.
Because everybody throws in the 90s now, in the mid and upper 90s. The only guys that stand out and throw over 100. But another thing is, when your command is off, even if you're throwing hard, if your command is off, guys will be able to lay off pitches because instead of them being borderline, they're not going to swing because they're way off the plate.
Right,
and that's what's happening a lot to him.
When I look at the Guardians, I kind of look at them and I say, all right, well, let me analyze the overall roster. Who would you say is a star on their team?
Jose Ramirez.
Okay.
And Shane Bieber.
So you got 2. When you don't have stars, right? Stars.
I'd say Class A, in
borderline.
As a closer goes, it would be a star.
So if you look at the stars, what makes stars great is they have, consistency, right? Guys, when I grew up, year in, year out, you knew certain players were good. It just was going to happen. But now it just seems like the Guardians have, I would say, average to good players, right? Average to good. And when you talk about average to good, you're a lot of different pieces of parts of your team. You're counting on those people being above average to good. If you get a couple of them that dip below average, then you start to see things in them struggling. Like case in point, the outfielders like Quan, Gonzalez. Young guys, they played very well last year. Quan is doing okay. Gonzalez is in the minors.
Right.
Pitching, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. So it's like
it's funny. It's a good point because we said all offseason, a lot of us were like, Gonzalez could have 15 home runs in May, or he could be in the minors.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, it went the minors route.
The minors route.
And you said it right. Quan's been okay, but he hasn't taken a step forward. Tanner Bybee was great on Sunday.
Yeah. Awesome.
He was great. And by the way, I never talk about wins for a pitcher because it's a stupid stat, doesn't prove anything. But they should change the rule. Think about what happened in that game Sunday. Was it Sunday that Bybee pitched? I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah. So Bybee goes 7 2/3.
Yep.
Gave up 2 hits, I believe.
Correct.
And I think one other base runner because he hit a batter in that last inning when he came out.
Correct.
So there's 2 on, 2 out. Francona. It's a 1-1 game because he had given up a run. He blew the 1-0 lead. Gave up a run in the 8th. Francona takes him out, brings in Karinchak. Karinchak faces one batter, gets the final out, and then in the bottom of the 8th, the Guardians take the lead. Well, Karinchak gets the win.
That's terrible.
How stupid is that?
Yeah.
I know that's been the rule forever. Baseball should have changed that a long time ago.
And they have the leeway to do that. Just give the official scorer.
That's right.
The
Well,
option.
that's what you do. If the starting pitcher does not go 5 innings, and if a team has the lead after 5 innings, and the starting pitcher doesn't
go
make it
5.
through 5, then the official scorer picks the winning pitcher.
He's got the discrepancy.
And in a situation like that, you should do the same thing.
I totally
Tanner
agree.
Bybee should get the win.
I totally agree.
I mean, not James Karinchak who got 1 out.
Right.
And what was impressive to me about Bybee, because we've been just jumping up and down to get him up here.
Yeah.
He had a terrible outing the one before.
That's true. It was his only bad outing, and he bounced back.
And a lot of times, baseball purists will say, look, you don't want a guy to come up from the minors, get up here, hit around a little bit, lose his confidence, and then, he's a shell of himself. But I thought that showed a lot. The fact that he came out in his next start and pitched that well, it
Great
shows
point.
that he's not going to shrink and fold up like a Christmas tree.
Well, look at Baltimore. Grayson Rodriguez, the best pitching prospect, has been horrible.
Yeah.
He's getting killed, got killed again yesterday by that same Angel team that Bybee just dominated.
Yeah. And Bybee, they called him up after his worst outing in the minors.
That's true.
He had
That's
a
true,
terrible outing in Columbus.
He's gotten in trouble with walks. His 2 bad outings this year, one in Columbus and one with the Guardians. He had a lot of walks in those games.
And yet, still coming off his worst outing, you would think that would
Yeah.
make team officials say, oh, maybe he needs – no.
4
They
out of
knew
5
he was
starts
ready.
in the big leagues have been good.
Yeah. And
He's been real good overall.
I think he's throwing his last pitch in AAA.
Oh,
he's not going back.
No chance.
Listen.
No chance he's going back. By the way, one other thing, great weekend for Josh Naylor. Hits late 8th inning home runs 3 days in a row.
Yep.
And Phil Nevin, the manager of the Angels, and I think this was also on Sunday. I don't know why all my days are blurred in my head. Did one of the yes, because it was Sandoval pitching against Bybee because they were teammates in high school, which is amazing. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That those guys are teammates in high school and they're pitching
both
against
made
each
the
other in the big
majors.
leagues. And Sandoval's a really good pitcher, kind of under the radar because he plays for the Angels, but the last couple of years he's been really good. Phil Nevin, the Angels manager, and I don't know, and I know you mentioned before, like I haven't heard his reason for this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pablo Sandoval, again, he's been one of the top, I'd say 25 pitcher in baseball the last 2 years. Left-handed pitcher, been really good. He pitches into the 8th against the Guardians. The Guardians have a runner. It's a tie game. The Guardians have a runner on second, 2 out. The Angels, with Sandoval on the hill, intentionally walk Ramirez. and who's, again, Sandoval, a lefty. He pulls the lefty to bring in Carlos Estevez to face Naylor. Now, Estevez is their closer.
He's had a great year. He's had a great year.
Fair. However, this is his first great year. He's not been very good before this year. So he's been good for a few weeks. Kudos to him. Sandoval A.
Way to strip his medals.
Sandoval A is a way better pitcher than Carlos Estevez, even at 90 pitches or whatever he was. And Josh Naylor is, to me, I mean, maybe I'm not following some guy closely on another team, but I follow baseball pretty close. Mm-hmm. I can't think of a player that is more of a different player versus lefties versus righties. He is a borderline all-star against right-handers. And he is not even a major leaguer against lefties. And that's not an exaggeration. He cannot, and when he does hit lefties, he only gets singles, pretty much. He has zero power against lefties, whatever. Now we're talking over 300 plate appearances. Why on earth you would bring in a righty there, I have no idea. Even if it's a guy who's pitching well, makes no sense.
Yeah, I can't defend it. I tend to agree. You know, the only logical reasoning is he's our closer and we're going to get our closer to finish out the game and give him, you know, the last few outs. But yeah, when you look at Naylor's numbers against lefties, they're terrible.
Again, if they had Emmanuel Clase when he's at his best.
Do the Angels even have like a lefty reliever specialist? I don't even know their bullpen.
I believe they have I believe they have a couple of lefties. I think Tucker Davidson. He's not a lefty. He's more of a starting pitcher.
Because if you think Sandoval's out of gas, then go get another lefty.
But I mean, he just got an out. Before intentionally walking Ramirez, he got an out.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd rather Naylor face a lefty on fumes.
Oh, yeah, well,
who's a good lefty on fumes.
Yeah.
Because the odds that Naylor's going to hit a home run against a lefty are almost nil.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
I mean, I don't understand that, but fortunately it worked out. And in the end, the Guardians did win 2 or 3 against a decent Angels
Pretty
team
good
over the weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, they're under 500. They're what, 19-21? Is that their record?
19-21, correct.
I still think they're going to win the division, despite all the problems on this team right now.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's why I'm not going too crazy about it. And there's things I don't like, and they do need to make a deal at some point. They need another bat.
They've got about 2 more weeks. GS before.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
When do you panic or when do you start to worry?
Yeah.
And I think Memorial Day weekend, start of June is when you can really, that's what you are. I don't know if you're necessarily going to start panicking.
Right.
But I think by June 1st, you are what you are.
And by the way, I was screaming I wanted Bybee up here. Oh, here's my latest. Get Bo Naylor's ass up here.
Oh, he's
Mike
killing the
Zunino
ball.
hasn't had a hit in a month.
He
His
like 9
catching,
home
which
runs.
used to be good, has gone completely off the rails.
He's a parking cone behind the plate.
He sucks. All right, Cam Gallagher is a journeyman.
Yeah.
Bo Naylor's killing it in AAA.
He is.
Even if he's not, like I saw somebody say, well, he's not polished enough as behind the plate. Mike Zunino sucks behind the plate. He didn't always suck, but he's old. He can't do it. And Bo Naylor's crushing it in AAA.
Well, guess what? Victor Martinez wasn't polished behind the plate
Yeah, I
when
don't
they
give a
called
crap.
him up.
Right.
And I'm not comparing Naylor to Victor Martinez.
I need a bat here, Jason.
Yeah.
Let's go. Give me a bat.
You guys want to hear an absurd statistic, which leads us right into our next game?
Yeah.
When was Cam Gallagher's last hit?
Oh.
I will say the COVID year.
No, he does have 2 hits this year.
September. Oh, this year? I was going to say September.
He does have 2 hits this year. Can you go back to his last hit?
I'll say April 8th.
Very close.
16th.
You're way too generous, Jason.
5th.
The Cam Gallagher part is almost irrelevant because
Bo
Naylor, if he comes up, has got to be the everyday catcher.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I
So
mean, you're
on the
DFAing Zunino if you bring up Naylor.
Yeah, they blew it with the Zunino thing, but they didn't spend that much money.
I don't think they blew it. I think they took a chance and it didn't work, but I wouldn't say they blew it.
If ultimately Bo Naylor doesn't turn out to be a good player, and obviously he's barely played in the big leagues, then they should have traded for Sean Murphy. But whatever. Let's see what Bo Naylor's got. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Stop
And
effing
we
around.
got rid of Austin Hedges. He has 9 hits this year, which is
he sucks too.
450% more than Cam Gallagher as the backup catcher. So I know that hurts for Anthony to
Well,
hear.
but Austin
Sorry,
Hedges
buddy,
wouldn't have
but
9 hits on the Guardians as a backup catcher.
He only has 60 at-bats. He has 9 hits and 60 at-bats.
Well, how many at-bats does Gallagher have?
50.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
He's 2 for 50?
2 for 49.
They've let him get up 49 times?
It's bad.
Tito!
It's bad.
What the F? Cam Gallagher is 49 trips to the plate?
Tough look.
I mean, I might be able to get 1 hit in 49 trips. No, I'm
Tough
kidding.
look.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to do one more Call League. We're going to play a little game. We'll finish up with some final takes. But as we all know, the Call League Companies Championship is coming July 12th to the 16th. Check out all your favorite golfers live, up close and personal in action. Family-friendly fun for everyone. Learn more information at colleaguegolf.com. This next segment game, whatever you want to call it, was suggested by Eddie. He said, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we went back and looked at some historical Guardian stuff and see who, based on their careers in Cleveland, this is only in Cleveland, had more of a certain statistic. So whether they played for the Indians, Guardians. So we will do this. We'll see how it works. And if it works, Eddie may got a hit. So the first question, it's multiple choice. You're just going to tell me who had the most. In their Cleveland careers.
Cleveland careers only.
Who scored more runs? Juan Gonzalez, Rick Manning, or Coco Crisp?
Rick Manning.
Are we doing this individually or as a group? Are we answering?
You could all. Anthony will keep score if you want to give me an answer.
All right.
I mean, I don't think Juan Gonzalez played here.
I'm gonna go.
Juan,
I'm gonna go with Coco Crisp C.
Juan was only here 1 or 2 years. Coco was here a couple different
stints. He only had a couple stints. I'm gonna go Coco.
Rick Manning
4 years
was Milwaukee and then Cleveland. Yeah, give me Rick Manning.
By the way, Coco Crisp, I called his games in the minors where he was going by Covelli.
Covelli.
Yeah.
So one of each? An A, B, and a C?
No.
Jason and I are saying Rick Manning.
I say Rick Manning, and G took Coco.
G saying Coco.
Steve, the correct answer is...
Coco.
Nice.
Coco
home
by
runs.
Home run, sorry.
Yeah, by one.
Dude, what the hell?
Different.
I don't know that I would have guessed any different.
Very different. That's a big F
You
up on me.
said runs.
Big,
But
I
that-
read the graphic. That's on me.
But
That's
that-
embarrassing.
Hand up.
But that's kind of crack.
Throw that one out.
Well, because
Throw
even
it out. Doesn't count.
I probably
Doesn't
would have
count.
guessed Juan Gonzalez.
I would have too.
honestly.
I would have guessed
Even
Juan
though he didn't play
Gonzalez.
here long because it was home runs.
That's a little miscommunication.
Those
on
other
me and
guys
Anthony.
weren't home run.
Me
Coco
and
Crisp
Anthony.
wasn't home
All
run.
right, second one. Who has more hits as a Cleveland player?
Is this bunt hits
What?
or is this?
Tristan McKenzie, Corey Kluber, or Jake Westbrook?
Are we sure it's hits? Do you have
Or
a
hit
category?
batters.
This is from
What
Eddie.
kind of stupid question is this?
Don't disrespect Eddie like that, Bull.
Eddie came up with this?
Yes.
Hits? Has Tristan McKenzie even gotten to the plate? They have a DH now.
Jake Westbrook.
Oh, DH now. They've always had a DH.
I'm gonna go with Westbrook.
Jake Westbrook. Oh, it's just in their time in Cleveland.
Just in their time in
Yes.
Cleveland.
So now they hit in the National League.
Was interleague a thing when Westbrook was here? Yeah, it was, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
I'll say Kluber was a bad hitter, if I remember. I'm going to say Jake Westbrook.
2 for Westbrook? Is it 3 for Westbrook?
Yeah, give me Westbrook, I guess.
3 for
went-
Westbrook. The
I
answer.
bet you they all have single digits, right?
Steve, take it.
Kluber.
Kluber
with
with
3.
Wow.
I mean,
No one got it right.
Eddie, I love you, but that's a terrible question. I mean, come on.
But what he's saying is, yeah, well,
I mean, come on.
how could you guess? Because these dudes do non-traditional things. So I guess he's going out with the oxymoron.
The first question I kind of liked.
I see
thought
what
that
you're saying.
But Mike screwed that one up.
I
The
screwed that
second
one up,
question was
yes.
a stupid question. All right, but that's fun. Go
All
ahead.
right, who had the most losses in their Cleveland career?
Most
Fausto
losses.
Carmona, Carlos Carrasco, or Trevor Bauer?
By the way, I love that Trevor Bauer's getting killed in
Oh,
Japan.
I saw that.
He's got an
ERA over 8.
First he was doing like racist things against Japanese people there. Not a big
What?
surprise.
For real?
He was like making fun of the culture or something. I don't remember what he was doing. Now he's getting killed out there. Good.
I'm gonna
Let
go
him
with
end up in the Australian League next.
I'm gonna go with Cookie Carrasco.
Fausto Carmona
Carmona and Carrasco both had some really lousy years early on.
losses.
Wasn't Carmona like?
Actually, he had Carmona. Well,
wasn't Fausto like 45? But he said it was like 26 or
yeah.
something.
Yes.
Fausto Carmona was actually like Eddie Rodriguez, or what was his real name?
Yeah, it was.
His name was not Fausto Carmona.
Yeah, his real name was much more generic than
Yeah.
Fausto Carmona.
I thought it was like
I forgot
something
it.
Gonzalez or something.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
Can't remember. What
Tony,
his-
was it Tony Fernandez?
No.
No, Tony Fernandez was a good shortstop.
Give me.
I'm going Carrasco.
Yeah. God, Bull and I are agreeing, and we're wrong
And we're
on all
wrong.
these.
I'm gonna go with Cookie.
I like Cookie, but give me Carmona.
All right.
Steve, the
Saying
answer.
Carrasco.
Ah!
God bless
I
him.
like this game now.
Stuck with my
Listen, I like this game.
gut.
Yeah, because Carrasco early in his career was piling up some losses.
Yeah. And he went to the bullpen.
Moved him to the bullpen.
So you
And
get
that kind of turned him around. That kind of turned his career around.
Yeah.
But you can take L's in the bullpen real easy.
Good, that's true. All
All
right.
right, so I found out why the confusion came with the home runs, because this next question is not home runs. It truly is runs.
You sure?
Okay.
I promise you, I'm
Okay.
looking at the answers here. Who scored the most runs in their Cleveland career? Jan Gomes, Lonnie Chisenhall, or Travis Fryman?
Runs, Travis Fryman.
By the way, Jan Gomes is actually having a pretty good year for the Cubs this year.
Yeah.
Out of the blue, he hadn't been good the last few years.
This looks like a trick question, but
It
It does, right?
I'm going to go with Travis Fryman.
Lonnie Chisenhall at one point was a top prospect.
I know.
Oh, listen.
Never.
Just,
He's out of baseball.
Fryman was not here long, but he was an
But he was on-
everyday player.
And he was on good,
Yup.
good
Good
lineups.
teams.
Yep.
Lonnie Chisenhall was such a scrub.
It can't be Gomes.
I got a weird feeling it's Lonnie Chisenhall.
Me too.
He hung around a long time.
He kept getting chances. They kept thinking he was going to do something.
I'm going to say Fryman, but that may be too obvious.
I'm saying Chisenhall.
I'm going to say Matt Laporta. No, I'm playing Travis Fryman.
Matt Laporta.
So 2 for Fryman, 1 for
I'm going
Chisenhall. The
Chisenhall.
answer.
Yeah!
Oh, nice job, fellas.
And G has a 2-1 lead over Jason Bull, getting skunked.
What are you talking about? I got one.
Who
He got
says,
Carrasco.
who
I
got
says G
Carrasco.
don't know baseball? The Duke of Newkirk has
Wait
crossed
a
over.
second. I had Carrasco.
Yeah, I took Carmona. It's 2-1-1.
Oh, 2-1-1. We're a mess back here.
Okay.
Yeah, we've noticed.
Last one. Last one.
Boom.
Oh my God, I made
How
it.
many did Anthony score?
We're only allowed to have one good show a week. You know this.
Well, there goes Anthony's good spelling.
Yeah, Danny
Look at number-
Slazar.
Danny Slazar?
I know it
Who's
wasn't.
Danny Slazar?
I don't know
And I
what the
spelled it right
question
in the
was.
email. You forgot a name.
It doesn't matter the question. The answer is
This
not
is on
Danny
Anthony.
Slazar.
That sounds like that sounds
Who
like
had more shutouts in their Cleveland career? Cliff Lee, Shane Bieber, or whoever C is Anthony? That's terrible.
That's Danny Salazar.
Danny
Man, I thought
Slazar.
Danny Salazar was going to be really good. It's amazing that he was out of baseball at like 27, 28.
Yeah.
I mean, he can throw the ball.
He told me one time he wanted to spend his whole career with Cleveland, and by God, he did.
Did.
Cliff Lee.
More shutouts in Cleveland. Got to be Cliff Lee,
Give me
right?
Cliff
But it feels
Lee.
like a trick question.
It does, yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think Bieber throws that many complete games. It's just the structure of the game anymore.
But I bet you Cliff Lee didn't have a lot. Remember, he was only good with the Indians for like 2 years.
three, and then
It's Danny Salazar feels like
A
he has no
sneaky-
business being on there.
Oh, but he had
had
a couple.
I'm going crazy. I'm saying Danny Salazar.
Danny
Slazer.
Slazar?
Danny Slazer.
the JV quarterback from St. Ed's, Danny.
Because he doesn't belong on that list, so I feel like he's there for a
I'm
reason.
gonna go with Cliff Lee. I feel like he's in that mix.
I don't think any of them have a lot. I mean, I know Salazar though. Who you going with, Jason?
Cliff Lee.
I'm going with Slazer.
Wait a minute, is this the last question?
This is the last question.
All right, then give me Bieber so I can at least have a shot at tying G, but I really think it's Cliff Lee.
I think it's.
It
But I'll
should be
take
Cliff
Bieber.
Lee, but I think it's
The
Slazer.
answer, Steve.
Yeah.
G, the non-baseball head of the three
Nice.
heads on the panel, is our defunct.
done.
Who
I
had
like
more?
it.
Eddie, your game was good. It was terrible on us on the
That
back.
was actually great.
Actually, a nice game. I like that.
It was a great game. I didn't like the pitcher hitting question, but I liked the game overall.
You can steal that.
Mike screwed it up in the beginning, which kind of screwed
liked
us
it,
up
though.
at the beginning, but that was
After
a fun
further
game.
review, you know what? We are one team, one unit. We all take credit when they had a good show. We will all take blame when it was bad, but it was. So, one team, one unit.
I
Guys,
wonder where
we
Danny
got
Slazar is today, by the way. Maybe he's selling pot to Chris Perez's
Falso
dog.
Carmona was Roberto Hernandez.
Roberto Hernandez.
I said
Yes.
it was Tony Fernandez. Same difference.
Roberto Hernandez.
there's only
yes.
so much room on a graphic, so when
Yeah.
you have two long names like that, we got to pick
Yeah.
one. With that, guys, we have time for final takes. We have 6 minutes to go.
All right, Jason.
All right, I got an email today that absolutely cracked me up, and I was hoping that we would have time for this because I get goofy emails all the time, PR companies pitching products, porn sites offering contracts to Tom Brady and all this stuff. I got an email today for graduates sweat like crazy on graduation day, whether the weather is warm, hot, humid, or hot and humid. So the answer is swamp butt underwear. This is
Dude,
a
swamp butt's a big
real
problem.
thing.
Yeah.
And now I just lost my place. About Swamp Butt Underwear. Swamp Butt Underwear is a real company that makes a product that helps solve a problem. Swamp Butt Underwear is specifically formulated to help fight against the affliction known as visible butt sweat, or simply swamp butt. Swamp Butt Underwear is trademarked in the United States and foreign countries. They're pitching this around graduation. Now we're getting into graduation season. We paid a lot of money for the trademark, so please don't use it without our permission. To see everything Swamp Butt Underwear offers, please go to swampbuttvirtual the Swamp Butt virtual store. Sorry, I should have read this. I should have prepared more for this. SwampButt.com. If you have,
I'm going right now.
If you suffer from Swamp Butt, go to SwampButt.com and get you some Swamp Butt underwear.
But
this is why it's devastating. because back in the day when you was younger, I didn't think about this, man. Like college kids.
Here it is, SwampButt.com. I got it up there.
See, like that's.
I need some Swamp Butt.
Along with Max Dry technology, this material is incorporated with an antimicrobial treatment preventing odor and growth of bacteria, fungi, and mold for a healthier and more comfortable experience. I don't want fungi and mold in my butt.
Nobody wants. Hello.
Like think about this. When you used to go hook up with people, people was having one night stands. You don't know what the swampness is down there.
That's right.
They've been dancing in clubs all night.
You can get them in different colors of different colleges. The color of your favorite college.
Well, there you go.
Boy,
Swamp Butt underwear. Bull, if you buy some, you need to give us a review.
I will. You got it.
Of Swamp Butt underwear.
I got a final take, man. It's kind of crazy, man. Is Mike Budenholzer and you get Monty Williams and all these coaches, right? Nick Nurse, you see these coaches get Frank Vogel, you see them get fired. They get fired after a small period of time. And basketball coaches, I've learned, are the most useless people as far as coaching concerned. Because what happens is they don't really affect the game. A lot of times these guys is getting fired. In reality, it doesn't have anything to do with the coaches, just they superstars didn't show up. Hey, Kevin Durant, hey, listen, they didn't play well with the Suns. And by the way, Chris Paul has hurt every single playoff game. Like any game of consequence, CP3 in Houston, CP3 with the Suns, CP3 going way back to the Clippers, it's always injured. Doesn't really have anything to really do with the coach. It just has to do with whether your player showed up or the superstar show up, regardless. And at this point, it doesn't really matter. You could get a coach from here or there, but really at the end of the day, doesn't mean much. I don't think it is. We'll see who they hire in their places. But basketball coaches, your name has been downgraded to managers like baseball.
All right, I got two things I want to talk about. One serious, one not that serious. Serious thing is I'm very excited to say my wife is home from the hospital. She got home last week on Thursday.
Yay.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thanks to all my friends and family that were so supportive. But let me just say, I don't want to, well, I guess I shouldn't talk about this. People always want to know, like, how's she doing? How's she doing? When you get, if you don't know anybody that's had leukemia and it's had a stem cell transplant, then you don't understand. I don't mean to downplay other types of cancer because all cancer is very serious. I'm just saying you don't understand. So if somebody in your family had another type of cancer, you can't relate to what we're going through because it's completely different. Doesn't mean yours is not serious on its own right. I'm not trying to say that. But no, you can't really relate unless you understand. And my wife is out of the hospital, but not out of the woods. And so it's still a really tough time for my family, but we are so, so happy to have her home. On a much lighter note, Sunday was the first episode of the final season of Fear the Walking Dead. And let me just say to the Walking Dead family out there, if you still watch Walking Dead, the last season of the original Walking Dead was great. They bounced back after a couple of subpar seasons. I love the show. I'm obsessed with it. The first episode of Fear the Walking Dead for the final season was beyond awful, and I'm very angry about it. I love this show. The first 3 seasons sucked. The last 4 have been great. Great. Morgan saved the show. And now they have killed Morgan's character. The best character in the entire Walking Dead family, Morgan, who is British, by the way. I bet you didn't know that the guy's British in real life. Check it up. You would never have guessed that. But anyway, you've neutered him in this final season. What the hell did you do to my man Morgan? The writers have failed us all. But now I have to watch the last 11 episodes because I'm already pot committed. Yes, that was me. That was my first argument, that there were never any fat people in The Walking Dead.
You look like you got swamp butt there.
I do. I have swamp butt.
That's Woods butt.
One final thing. Mike had a plan for overtime. We're blowing it off. I don't want to talk about Wembanyama. Nobody gives a shit about him. I'm not talking about him. I want immediate questions on the YouTube chat from anybody that's on our overtime. I want fan questions about non-sports things. I don't want to talk about sports in overtime. Screw anybody that doesn't agree with me. I'm taking over. I want non-sports questions only. We've talked about sports for 2 hours. It's enough. Non-sports questions only from anybody that's going to be in overtime. Send the questions in the chat to the guys now. I'm not talking about Wembanyama, whatever the hell his name is. I don't care about his name. He's not going to be on the Cavs. Who gives a rat's ass? We'll see you tomorrow. Tyvus in for Jason. G and I are here. We love you all.
Peace.
Baby.